Chapter 1791. Under the alliance of the political powers of the entire Eastern Royal Heaven, no matter who it was, no matter how big the power was, as long as they dared to go against the officials, they would be wiped out in a single night. Even if it was a silent assassination in the dark of the night, all the enemies of the city lord would be exposed in broad daylight. This is from P. If one person committed the crime, not only would all these enemies be finished, even their clans would be implicated. Therefore, there was a very strange phenomenon in the Eastern Royal Heavens. The more enemies an official had, the more worried they would be about the safety of the official. It was normal to send people to protect the official. It was impossible not to protect the official. If this guy died, no matter whether he was the culprit or not, he would become a target of suspicion. The stronger one's martial arts was, the more he would be suspected. There were even cases of enemies with great martial arts who personally protected the official. When surrounded, they would rather sacrifice their lives to save the official so as not to be suspected and not to implicate their descendants. It didn't matter if you did it secretly or not. As long as something happened to him, you would have a grudge against him. Therefore, the dignified reasons that the city lord was giving now simply did not make sense. He was clear about this point, and so was Chu Yang. Although Chu Yang had only been in Chongtiankei for a short period of time, he naturally didn't know much about Chongtiankei, nor did he know much about it. However, Yen Russian, who was an extremely knowledgeable person, was by the side of a certain king of hell. This time, when he interacted with the city lord of Chongtiankei, he would naturally tell Chu Yang about all kinds of official matters and taboos. If the news that the city lord was seriously injured was really spread out, all his enemies would definitely gather overnight, not to kill him, but to protect him. Many of his enemies would even personally come to greet him and send him many valuable elixirs. Therefore, Chu Yang naturally wouldn't believe this important news. But even if he didn't believe it, he still solemnly promised, "Of course. The safety of the city lord is related to the welfare of the people of Purple Cloud City. This little brother will absolutely not leak any information." The city lord heaved a sigh of relief. He was about to extend his wrist, but then he retracted it. "Sigh, my injury is really worrying, but I can't tell outsiders." Obviously, he still had concerns. It seemed that this wasn't a lie. His injury definitely couldn't be told to outsiders. Not only could it not be told to outsiders, it couldn't be told to his own people either. Chu Yang was definitely not in a hurry. He said warmly, "If there's any inconvenience for you right now, we can do it another day. Either here, or this Chu will wait for the city lord's arrival in the men's hall. No, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Let's treat him now." The city lord's face turned green and white, but he still stretched out his hand in the end. If the citizens saw this city lord going to the men's hall, what would they think? Even if this city lord really has this problem. But I can't just casually spread it out. Chu Yang secretly rolled his eyes and reached out to feel his pulse. In just a moment, Chu Yang could clearly see the current state of the city lord's body. Injury? Seriously injured? What a load of bullshit. This guy's body was as strong as an ox, except that his lower body was a little lacking. Other than causing this monarch's illness, how could there be any serious internal injuries? Seeing Chu Yang's serious expression, the city lord said with some apprehension, "Little brother, my injury?" Chu Yang nodded. "Yes, the city lord's injuries, cough cough, are indeed very serious. I need to think about it carefully. That's the safest way." Dong Lai nodded repeatedly. "You're a doctor, I'll listen to you. You can slowly think about it, I'll listen to you." At this time, the city lord's face was already red. He was a little embarrassed. Chu Yang's cough explained too many problems. This was like two brothers in modern society. One moment ago, one was still bragging about how powerful he was, but the next moment he was found to be impotent. He had lost face. The more he investigated, the more Chu Yang felt strange. He didn't pay much attention to it before, but it turned out that the city lord was an expert, and his cultivation wasn't low. Under normal circumstances, such a person would have yin and yang in his body, and would never have a situation where his yang energy was greatly depleted. But the phenomenon that shouldn't have happened had clearly happened. Moreover, his yang energy was almost depleted. At first, he judged that the city lord's condition wasn't too bad, and most of it was based on the fact that the city lord's body was far stronger than ordinary people's. Now that he analyzed it in detail, his previous judgment was somewhat taken for granted. The city lord's lower body wasn't just slightly depleted, it was quite depleted, almost depleted completely. This was really strange. Chu Yang could come to a conclusion with his own vision, but he couldn't find the source of the illness. He didn't even have a clue. So, he had no choice but to ask the sword spirit to help. The sword spirit was worthy of being called an old monster of hundreds of thousands of years. He felt that something was wrong as soon as he started, imbalance of yin and yang? Then he said, it's not like this hasn't happened in the past, but most of them are caused by internal and external injuries, or because of cultivation deviation. But, the city lord doesn't have any injuries now. This is strange. Could it be that he had taken the mysterious yang fruit? It can't be. The sword spirit was somewhat puzzled. It seemed that apart from the mysterious yang fruit, there shouldn't be such a strange phenomenon. City lord, please forgive me for speaking too much. A doctor has always been straightforward in his diagnosis and treatment. Chu Yang looked at the city lord seriously. Your injury is a little strange. The city lord couldn't wait and said, strange? What's strange? Is there any other doctor? It was really too painful. It seemed that it was the most painful thing for a man. May I ask if your excellency has been, or should I say for many years, have you been very bold? Chu Yang tried to find the right words. Then he finally said, I mean, in the matters between men and women? The city lord's face flushed red, and he was instantly in high spirits. That's right. There was once a few decades when I couldn't get enough women every day. The highest record was once 12 women in a single night, and I was still in high spirits. I wanted more, the city lord smacked his lips. That period of time was really memorable. Chu Yang lowered his head and grinned. He said, amazing. The sword spirit added in the tribulation space, beast. The city lord said, since my wife died of illness, I was depressed for a period of time, but the fire of extreme yang in my body was burning, and I couldn't vent it. So, I could only, cough cough, loiter in the brothel. This sentence was obviously an explanation. Although I have strong needs in that aspect, I didn't kidnap women. I'm a good official, a good person. Chu Yang said against his will, the integrity of the city lord is really admirable. A person who went to the brothel every day was now talking about integrity. This made Chu Yang feel a little amused. It was like a prostitute who had erected a chastity memorial arch in a grandiose manner. However, the city lord's actions could really be described in these two words. With his power, it was not difficult for him to find a few concubines or female confidants. Even if he wanted to taint a commoner's daughter, it was absolutely not difficult for him. It was just a matter of a look. Many women would even rush to climb into his bed and recommend themselves to warm the bed. But he didn't do so. It could be said that he still had his own persistence, yes, integrity. The city lord's face seemed to turn red as he awkwardly said, at that time, if it was an ordinary girl, she might not be able to withstand that cough cough, conquering marrying her would only harm her, so I found a lion clan's wife. Chu Yang was speechless. The sword spirit added in the tribulation space, beast. Things were actually like this. It was absolutely impossible for a woman of the lion clan to marry outside under normal circumstances. Because ordinary men could not stand the coldness of a woman of the lion clan, and that kind of strong desire, as the saying goes, 30 years old is like a wolf, 40 years old is like a tiger. Lion, it was said that lions could have sex 80 times a day. Of course, this was referring to the strength of the men of the lion clan. But it could also be seen that the women of the lion clan were also very strong. It was definitely not the strength of an ordinary woman. If it was an ordinary woman, she would really be killed. It seemed that the city lord had used his power in the end, and it was still for that. But I didn't expect that less than a year after the marriage. The city lord's face was full of sorrow. I can't do it anymore. Looking at the city lord's sad face, Chu Yang really couldn't help but laugh. But he was really embarrassed to laugh. If he really laughed, he would greatly offend the city lord. He forced himself to endure, and it was really hard to endure. He originally wanted to have unlimited sex in the future and gallop as he wished. He didn't expect that he really found someone who could withstand him, but he couldn't. This was really a little I'm afraid that the city lord's method was somewhat thoughtless. Chu Yang pondered for a while and said, the city lord's super strong physique probably came from a kind of medicine. The city lord must have taken the heavenly treasure, the mysterious yang fruit. And when you took it, you were probably still young. You didn't use the cultivation method to turn the energy contained in the fruit into your own. In the end, it all turned into the power of the extreme yang. That's right. The city lord was surprised. This guy can even see through this. This is another big secret of mine. Yes, after his cultivation had reached a certain level, he accidentally found out that the fruit he had accidentally found when he was young was actually the legendary mysterious yang fruit. If the mysterious yang fruit was used during cultivation, it could at least increase one's cultivation by a few hundred years. But at that time, he was too young. He only took it as an ordinary fruit and ate it without knowing anything about cultivation. Naturally, it didn't have much use and only increased some male ability. Chapter 1792. The mysterious yang fruit is the most yang item in the world. When you took it, you didn't start cultivating, so you couldn't really use it for yourself. Therefore, the power of the fruit was hidden in your body. Because you were young at that time, you naturally didn't know about the matters between men and women, so it was difficult to release its power. It was nourished in your body and gradually took effect. I can say that when you were young, your cultivation speed was far faster than ordinary people. Of course, it was because of hard work, and the hidden power of the mysterious yang fruit was also of great help. However, this situation continued until you understood the matters between men and women. Baidu search P.com. The city lord's complexion changed again. He cried out involuntarily, that is indeed the case. Divine Doctor, my cultivation speed was far faster than my peers. However, as you said, after I became an adult, my cultivation speed gradually slowed down. Chu Yang smiled slightly. The effect of the mysterious yang fruit is great. For the human body, even if you don't use it for yourself, it won't cause any harm. However, its attribute is yang. After you first tasted the matters between men and women, you rarely restrained yourself, which led to a large amount of physical exhaustion. The mysterious yang fruit hidden in your body replenished your physical strength, but because you found a channel to vent it, a large amount of energy was converted into energy. Therefore, your later excitement, to a certain extent, was only to vent some kind of hidden external force in your body. It wasn't really a natural need. The city lord was stunned, so that is the case. Then, aren't my actions recklessly wasting natural resources? Chu Yang smiled again. This is a matter of opinion. Speaking of which, even though the effect of the mysterious yang fruit is great, it is not endless. In other words, under your decades of squandering, the power of the mysterious yang fruit has been completely exhausted. And that power has been inseparable from your body's yang energy. The power of the mysterious yang fruit has been exhausted, and the next thing to exhaust is your body's instinctive ability. However, you didn't know anything about it and continued to act recklessly. Under excessive consumption, your body's yang energy has been overdrawn to the limit. How can you not? Chu Yang sighed. Right now, it is only reflected in the matters between men and women. If a few more years pass, the imbalance between yin and yang will become more and more serious. Your entire body and life may collapse. Even if your body is far healthier than ordinary people, it will be useless. The city lord's face turned white. This was because someone had said this before, and the person who said this was an extremely famous divine doctor. It was just that the godly doctor was unable to see through the mystery of the profound yang fruit, nor was he able to give him a method to recuperate his body. Because of this, the city lord was skeptical of his diagnosis. He also hoped that the divine doctor had exaggerated the difficulty of the illness because he was unable to treat him. But now that he heard Chu Yang say this again, he naturally had no more doubts. His life was in danger. His life was actually in danger. Originally, I thought it was just an illness of mine, but now, I have to pay with my life as well. Damn it. Little brother. I wonder if my illness can be cured? The way the city lord addressed him as little brother was very sincere, but it was different from before. Now, he was filled with hope as well as a kind of careful fawning. There's hope. It can be cured. Chu Yang frowned, but if you want to completely cure it and make a complete recovery, or even better, it will take some time. In the end, it was a huge loss. Consolidating the foundation and nurturing the origin. It's not something that can be done overnight. There has to be a period of recuperation. The city lord held his breath. He looked at Chu Yang with hope. It'll take at least half a year. Chu Yang gave a time limit. Just now, the sword spirit had already given him the prescription in the tribulation space. If it were someone else, even if they knew the cause and the treatment method, they would still be helpless. But for you, it's a piece of cake. Because Chu Yang had two of the great medicines, mysterious ice jade paste and mysterious yang jade essence. These two things nourished yin and yang. It was a divine medicine that could consolidate the foundation and adjust the yin and yang. It was hard to find a better medicine than these two things in the world. In fact, although the city lord's illness was also quite troublesome, it was not to the extent that he needed to use these two medicines. He only needed to use some mysterious ice jade core and mysterious yang jade core to treat him. This was a cure for the root of the illness, and it needed a certain amount of time. If it was just to treat the symptoms, just give him some blood of the lust dragon, and he would immediately be full of vigor. As for treating the symptoms and the root of the illness, it was even simpler. As long as the three were combined, he could be cured in a day. This was the sword spirit's original words. But now, the black-hearted divine Dr. Chu had to make the best use of the city lord's illness. He actually extended the cure period from 1 day to half a year. The bet with Shifty Guy was half a year. If the city lord's illness was cured now, what if this bastard didn't appreciate his kindness and didn't want to give him face? So, half a year. The city lord let out a long sigh of relief. It's not long, not long. It was really not long. As long as it could be cured and his life could be saved, not to mention half a year, even 10 years was not long. 4 high-level martial artists with profound cultivation, 10 years was really nothing. Half a year was just a small period of time for closed-door training. It was really nothing. Big brother, you don't have to worry too much about this illness. The half-a-year time limit I gave was to cure the illness completely. Chu Yang smiled and said, actually, after the treatment starts today, Big brother can regain his vigor. You can completely continue in that aspect, and be as brave as before. As for the half-a-year time limit, it's mainly to adjust the yin and yang balance, consolidate the foundation, and let your life return to a stable state. Really? Brother, you're not joking with me, right? The city lord stood up abruptly. This time, even his voice was trembling. Tears also came out of his eyes. Oh my God, tonight I can... I want to cry. Oh, it's better not to cry. Let my brother cry at night. Medicine is a benevolent art. How can a doctor's words be false? Chu Yang vowed solemnly. That's great. That's great. The city lord wiped his tears happily. Boo. Brother, you're my second parent. Boo. You don't even know what kind of life I've been living these 2 years. Your sister-in-law is really like a wolf or a tiger. No, she's even more ferocious than a tiger or a wolf. Every day I have to be a thief. Boo-hoo, that kind of resentful gaze, as long as I see it, my heart will feel guilty. Brother, do you know that kind of feeling, brother? Do you know, brother? The city lord's words were incoherent. It was obvious that he had lost control of his emotions. Chu Yang almost scolded, bullshit. What kind of words are these? How can I know that kind of feeling? If I know, doesn't it mean that I can't do it? You think that you can't do it? That all the men in the world can't do it? Not only can you do it, you can do it very well. Big brother, let's treat him first and see the situation. Yes, yes, yes. The city lord agreed repeatedly. After an hour. After preparing 3 large water tanks filled with water, the treatment process began. The city lord drank a bowl of medicinal soup prepared by divine Dr. Chu. The vile taste of this bowl of medicinal soup made the city lord truly enjoy a combination of ice and fire, as well as 18 levels of hell. In that medicinal soup, Chu Yang very carefully put some Xian Ice Jade Core, Shenyang Jade Core, powder. Just a little bit of essence power, yes, just a little bit of powder would be enough. Chu Yang circulated his martial power to catalyze it, and finally added a few drops of lust dragon's blood. Everything was done, but when these were placed in the same bowl and boiled into a medicinal soup, the taste would definitely make one feel like dying. He drank the first mouthful. Before he swallowed it, the city lord felt that his body had suddenly entered into a 10,000-year Xian ice land. In an instant, even his blood was frozen. His whole body shivered and he couldn't fight the cold anymore. His face was instantly covered with frost. Then he continued to swallow, but immediately he felt an extreme scorching heat rising. In an instant, it was as if the sun had run into his stomach. The heat at this moment made the ice and snow on the city lord's body all turn into sweat. Then he felt that his whole body was being dried. He was so dry that he couldn't even scream, but in the next moment, it was ice cold, and in the next moment, it was scorching heat. This cycle repeated endlessly. Combination of ice and fire. Definitely. And it was 81 layers of ice and fire. Such alternating coldness and heat. The city lord endured it for dozens of times. When it came to the last half bowl of medicinal soup, the city lord simply pinched his nose and drank it in one gulp, following the principle of short-term pain rather than long-term pain. This time, it was incredible. One moment, it was frozen. The next moment, it was on fire, and the next moment, it was frozen again. The city lord was almost tortured to death. Finally, he endured these two feelings. After it came to an end, the extreme stench, the extreme sourness, the extreme spiciness, the extreme bitterness in the medicinal soup, all kinds of wonderful tastes were officially on the stage. The city lord gasped with his mouth open, his eyes turning white. After a long time. Only then did he manage to regain the strength to speak. The first sentence was, "Oh my God! My Emperor East Emperor." He realized that he could speak again. The city lord's face was full of tears. It wasn't that he didn't want to scream just now, but he was so messed up that he couldn't even scream. Life after death, living a life worse than death, escaping death by the skin of one's teeth, and being reborn after death, life was really full of ups and downs. Under Chu Yang's guidance, the city lord immediately channeled his energy, and then, with a boom, he was thrown into a big water tank. Chu Yang kept splashing water inside. As the city lord channeled his energy, the feeling of alternating coldness and heat became more obvious. Continuously drinking water, continuously sweating, continuously evaporating, and continuously freezing, Chu Yang continued to pour water into the water tank from the outside. He kept the water tank close to the brim from beginning to end, after a long time. The water in the other 2 large water tanks was almost empty. The city lord finally finished absorbing it. Just drinking water and sweating to evaporate. This process used up 2 whole tanks of water. After the city lord came out, his expression was very strange. During the treatment process just now, he sweated a lot, and he drank a lot of his own sweat. This didn't matter. However, the real problem was that only the city lord himself knew that when those extreme sensations alternated with each other, he would embarrassingly lose control of his bladder every time. To put it in simpler terms, he would tremble and pee. Chapter 1793. The city lord's face turned green and red. He smacked his lips. This taste is really fucking wonderful. This matter must be kept absolutely confidential. Well, big brother, how do you feel? Chu Yang asked casually. Involuntarily licking his lips, the city lord blurted out, "A bit coquettish." Coquettish? Chu Yang's eyes widened. What kind of feeling is this? Not coquettish, it's an illusion, it's a slip of the tongue. The city lord was also a little stunned. How could he accidentally say the truth? He hurriedly remedied, I feel a lot. It's too cold, too hot. Too bitter. Too spicy, too smelly. He complained again and again. Chu Yang laughed, good medicine is bitter. Since it's to adjust yin and yang, how can there be no alternating cycle of cold and hot? I say, big brother, your illness has consumed all of my stock. This is for you, big brother. If it were someone else, I would absolutely not be willing to give up those good medicines. Brother, you've worked hard. The city lord said gratefully, brother, don't worry. In the territory of Purple Cloud City, I still have some power. I will never let you suffer any grievances. Now, the city lord only felt that his whole body was warm and comfortable. Especially his little brother, who had not raised his head for almost 2 years, was eager to try. He shook his head and an inexplicable male excitement had gradually risen. After the city lord felt this long-lost nostalgia, he could not help but cry. Regardless of Chu Yang's presence in front of him, he did not think about his image. He reached out and grabbed him, tears streaming down his face. Brother, it's been a long time. Chu Yang was speechless. Come. The city lord shouted with all his strength. This sudden roar shook the entire city lord's mansion. Chu Yang, who bore the brunt, only felt a buzzing sound in his head. He almost fainted. This guy is definitely doing it on purpose. You dare to yell at me? What a big dog. See if I don't make the medicine more bitter and unpleasant to drink in the future. Who asked you to yell at me? Sir. The guards heard the urgency in the city lord's voice and rushed over. Seeing the water stains in the room and smelling a strange smell, they could not help but be surprised. My lord, is something wrong? What do you mean, what happened? The city lord roared, Go! Xiangfuren, bring the box next to my pillow over. Hurry up. Hurry up and fucking go. It was obvious that he couldn't wait. When the guard heard this, he didn't dare to delay and ran away. The private residence of the city lord. A guard ran in, panting. The few maids who tried to stop him were pushed aside by him. Madam, what's the matter? A beautiful woman with a graceful figure frowned and looked over. The city lord who wants the box beside the pillow? The guard panted. Box. The beautiful woman's tone had a hint of bitterness. What does he need that box for? Ticket? The guard took it. He broke into a run. The beautiful woman looked at the back of the guard and her eyes were full of doubt. He's already like that. He can't do anything. What's the use of this? Could it be that he wanted to destroy it? He let out a long sigh, feeling that his youth was going to be wasted. The beautiful woman couldn't help but feel depressed and resentful. She couldn't blame anyone for this. It was all her fault for finding such an incompetent husband. Sir, the box is back. The guard was panting as if his legs were about to break from running. Bring it over. The city lord said majestically. Don't pretend. You have the strength of a human level. How can you be so tired after just a few steps? Get lost. The guard was exposed and immediately smiled embarrassedly. He stopped panting and walked out calmly. Chu Yang's eyes almost popped out. He was indeed the talent. Brother, this is my collection over the years. When the guard's figure disappeared, Dong Lai's dignified official's aura disappeared instantly. He approached Chu Yang. He had a wretched look on his face and kept raising his eyebrows. What things? Chu Yang was very curious. These are all treasures. The city lord opened the box carefully. Bring them over today. I'll do an experiment to see if they can be used. What things can they be used? Chu Yang was even more confused. Oh, it's this. The city lord rubbed his crotch with his hand. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. He suddenly had a strong impulse to run away. This guy, how is he going to experiment? Instantly, Minister Chu's lips turned pale. His heart was beating wildly. He secretly made up his mind. Does this bastard want to experiment on me? If this guy really has that kind of idea and dares to touch me, I'd rather run all over the world to cut off his penis. At this time, the city lord had already opened the box and took out a book with a wretched face. He even laughed strangely, waved his hand mysteriously and said, Brother, come and take a look, it's very good. Chu Yang was stunned by the city lord's actions. He was very curious. He went over to take a look. Suddenly, black lines appeared on his forehead. Fuck, so it's that thing. A big pile of erotic pictures. Every erotic picture was colorful. No matter if it was the men or women, they were all lifelike. Whether it was the skin, the curves, or the expressions, they were all fascinating. It's really good stuff. Look, this is this kind of posture. What kind is that? The city lord's eyes were shining. He looked at the pictures carefully, as if he had found a treasure. Chu Yang's forehead was full of black lines. He seemed to be disdainful. His face was full of Taoism. As for what he was thinking in his heart, only he knew. The city lord looked at it and suddenly groaned. He made a few "oh" sounds in his throat. Suddenly, he put away the erotic painting with lightning speed. He jumped up and said, I can't, I have to hurry." All of a sudden he dashed out. He shouted, "Guards, send Divine Dr. Chu out. I'll visit you another day to thank you. That, secret, we'll do it another day. Where's Madam? Madam, where are you?" Towards the end, even his voice couldn't be heard. Chu Yang had never seen such speed in his life. A peerless divine doctor, such a good curative effect. The city lord was very excited. Chu Yang was completely dumbfounded as he watched the back view of the city lord in heat disappear from his sight. He was flabbergasted and speechless. There was silence. This guy, to be able to become a city lord, he should be a bit shrewd. Why is he so lustful? Chu Yang was respectfully escorted out by the guards. Let's not talk about it for now. The city lord rushed all the way home. His speed was really as fast as lightning. The city lord's wife was enjoying the flowers in the garden. She heard his voice coming from afar. He was extremely anxious. Madam, what's the matter?" As soon as the city lord's wife spoke, she felt that she was carried up by someone. She couldn't help but exclaim, "What are you doing? What am I doing?" The city lord exuded a masculine aura and panted, "Of course. I'm doing you." Without giving any time to explain, he rushed into the room with his wife in his arms. He closed the door with a bang. The maids outside looked at each other. What's going on? How can this be? Did the sun rise from the west? Suddenly, they heard a scream from the city lord's mansion. This? What's going on? Immediately. The sound of the room shaking could be heard. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. The faces of the maids immediately turned as red as the rosy clouds of the morning sun. One by one, they ran away in a panic. This was too shameful. It was said that there was a strange sound in the city lord's mansion that lasted for an entire night. The city lord and his wife fought to the death. No one knew who won and who lost. When Chu Yang returned, it was already afternoon. But he didn't stop. Instead, he directly called everyone and went to the Li clan's courtyard. The city lord's side was already settled. Chu Yang felt that there was no point in continuing to open the men's hall. It was better to hurry to the next step. Time was tight, it had to be said. The Li clan's courtyard was quite big. Chu Yang went in and looked around. Then he set aside the largest courtyard and arranged for people to live in. This courtyard was obviously for the original bodyguards to live in. It was quite spacious. At least, the more than 1,000 people under Chu Yang's command were far from enough. That night, they began to build a large scale. The original garden, rockery, and other buildings that had no practical use were all flattened, razed to the ground. Then they built a large number of buildings and rooms on it. Otherwise, when there were more and more people in the future, they wouldn't be able to live in it. It had to be said that Chu Yang had already started to plan ahead. It was necessary to build a solid foundation. There were a lot of people now, but most of them were children. Chu Yang simply came up with his own invention. He put up the bed frame and put up the escalator. There were 7 or 8 beds in a room, divided into 3 levels. Then, there would be 1 bed on each level. In this way, more than 20 people could live in a room. There was even a certain amount of space to put some daily necessities. That night, the kitchen maids, nannies and other women that Chu Yang hired also moved into the Li clan's courtyard. The originally empty courtyard suddenly became lively. The food that brother who stole was once again put into the Li clan's granary by Chu Yang. Roughly estimating, the food was enough for at least 10,000 people to eat for 3 years. It was more than enough. For the time being, there was no need to worry about food. But it seemed that the Prime Minister still lacked a butler. Such a big place couldn't be without a butler. So, Chu Yang frowned and entered the tribulation space. During this period, Chu Yang went in every day to take a look. There were still a bunch of female soldiers in there. But, who should he use as the butler? When they saw Chu Yang come in, there was a burst of shouting. Big Brother Chu, Chu Yang. Big Brother Chu, today is infinitely sad. My hair just grew a little longer, so I was urged by my wife to get a haircut. I was forced to get a buzz cut. On the way back, my bicycle punctured a tire. I went home angry and wanted to smoke a cigarette. A flame came out of the lighter. It burned my nose hair. It wouldn't be strange if it burned my hair or eyebrows. But this time, it was my nose hair that was burned. Damn it. Then he used tissue paper to scrape it, and it turned into a black powder. The worst thing was that when he sent a WeChat message to ask for sympathy, everyone gloated over his misfortune. There was actually a considerable number of people who replied, Feng Ling, burn it again. Prepare to burn it again, take a picture of it and send it online for us to laugh. Chapter 1794. Seeing Chu Yang enter, Xie Danfeng, Gu Miaoling, Huyan Aobua, Xie Danqiong's wife and Ao Xian's 2 wives all came forward to welcome him. Ao Xian's 2 wives had the surname Huang and Bai. They were both beautiful and slim. Xie Danqiong's wife had the surname Mei. They were all 1 in a million beauties. On this point, Chu Yang was very impressed with his brother's foresight. Chu Yang was all smiles as he greeted them one by one. He didn't dare to be negligent, never neglecting. He smiled from the bottom of his heart. These were all his brother's wives. Therefore, Chu Yang paid extra attention to his image in front of them. He could not pay attention. Eldest uncle was in an awkward position. Meanwhile, Tai Budin was looking at them with a smile. I wonder when we can go out to play? Xie Danfeng pouted. Exactly, let's go out for a walk. We're already here, but we can't really go out. It's so annoying. Huyan Ao Bo walked back and forth with large strides. That majestic body of hers made all the girls feel a heartfelt sense of oppression. Although the other girls didn't say anything, their gazes were obviously filled with anticipation. This was human nature. In this inexplicable space, although her cultivation was soaring every day, a woman was still a woman. If a woman always stayed in a place like this, she would definitely not be very happy. If a man who was crazy about cultivation were to be in such a place, he would definitely be pleasantly surprised. But women were different. Among all of them, only Tai Budin was happy. Because she knew that she was in her man's territory. This was an absolute sense of security and belonging. This was Tai Butian's absolute trust in Chu Yang. In fact, Tai Budin was very satisfied. In the past, she could only miss him. But now, she could see him every day. What more could she ask for? Humans shouldn't be so greedy. Besides, Tai Budin had been educated as an emperor since she was young. The steadiness formed from years of controlling the world also allowed her to remain as steady and calm as water in a deep pool under most circumstances. She definitely wouldn't be impatient. This was a true aristocrat, a person in a high position. The difference between her and an ordinary person. She could blend in perfectly with any group and have the people around her approve of her, but when an outsider noticed the group, no matter how inconspicuous her place was. However, outsiders would always notice her at first glance. Haha, don't be anxious, don't be anxious. This time, I was afraid that you would be bored, so I specially came to invite you. Chu Yang laughed out loud. Then he rolled his eyes and said, I'm doing a big thing outside right now. It's an important thing that concerns the future of all of us. We need a lot of help. Go, 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 we'll all go. Before Chu Yang could finish, the response was already very enthusiastic. But then, all the girls looked at Tai Budin and asked carefully, Sister Budin, what do you mean? Among these women, there was no one else. Apart from Xie Danfeng, Tai Butian was the youngest among them. However, all the girls had a vague feeling that Tai Butian was the core of the group. When he spoke, there was a hint of respect in his tone. This had nothing to do with Tai Butian being Chu Yang's woman. It also had nothing to do with the fact that Tai Butian had once been an emperor. It was completely due to Tai Butian's personal charm. Among Chu Yang's brothers, be it Ao Xian, Tan Tan, Xie Dan Qiong or GMO, any one of them was in existence with high standards. How could a woman who could catch the eyes of these brothers of Chu Yang be an ordinary woman? Every single one of them had a clever mind and was chosen on the spot. Including Huyan Aobo, who had a rough appearance, she was also a meticulous and refined person. However, ever since Tai Butian appeared, in their daily lives, in the most ordinary of interactions, her friendliness, bearing and grace made all the girls fall head over heels for her. Moreover, when she spoke, she had great foresight, making all the girls feel the gap between them from the bottom of their hearts. Slowly, without any deliberate effort, Tai Butian had already become the core of all the girls, the only core. When Chu Yang saw this situation, he couldn't help but be astonished. To be able to make so many proud girls willingly submit to her, this wife of his was indeed quite capable. Personal charm and personal charm were different. He was able to gather all his brothers around him mostly because of his personal charm, but Tai Butian was able to easily subdue all the girls because of her personal charm. Sisters, you are all my brother's family. We are a family to begin with. Now that my husband is in trouble and needs your help, please don't hesitate to lend a helping hand. Tai Butian smiled warmly and said affectionately, "Okay." Huyan Aobo made a prompt decision. She turned and asked Chu Yang, "When are we going out? Do you want to go now?" Obviously, all the girls couldn't wait. It's not a problem if you want to go out now, but there are a few conditions that I hope everyone will abide by. After all, this is not the heavenly layer. It's not a good thing if some unnecessary trouble arises. Chu Yang touched his nose. To be honest, he really didn't intend to let these girls go out. The light spirit jade wasn't a problem. He had already bought a lot of them before, but he hadn't made up his mind to let the girls go out. After all, Purple Cloud City was just a small city at the border. If so many beautiful girls suddenly appeared, Chu Yang could imagine what kind of impact it would cause. This time, if it wasn't for the urgent need for reliable help, Chu Yang still wouldn't let them out. It was better to be stifled than to be in danger. Coming out to play was fine, but staying outside for a long time, just like Chu Yang's concern before coming up, there were quite a lot of perverts in this heavenly layer. Chu Yang always felt uneasy. If it was only his own women, then it was nothing. He would protect his own women. But when it involved the wives of Gu Duxing, Xie Danqiong and other brothers, Chu Yang was extremely cautious. Protecting his brother's women was really not nice to hear. These women, no matter which one of them was in trouble, Chu Yang couldn't bear the responsibility. What are the conditions? The first condition is that after going out, you must listen to me. You are not allowed to act on your own. Chu Yang's voice was very heavy. This is not a problem. We are not people who don't know the limits. The second condition. After going out, you must disguise yourself and make yourself look uglier. Chu Yang raised the second condition. How can we do that? The girls immediately protested. None of the women didn't care about their appearance. Once they heard that not only were they not allowed to dress up beautifully, but they also had to deliberately disguise themselves as ugly girls, how could they be willing to do that? Women's concern for beauty might even be higher than their lives. I feel that the second condition is the most important. Tai Butian pondered. As soon as she spoke, the girls immediately shut up. This change shocked Chu Yang. Chu Yang was originally prepared to be besieged by the girls. He had to speak the truth, reason, and repeatedly explain things to make the girls listen. He didn't expect that Tai Butian's words would cause the whole room to fall silent. Firstly, you have just come up to the heavenly layer imperial court and haven't gained a firm foothold yet. Beauty at the wrong time and place is a source of trouble. Tai Butian's bright eyes flashed. She said, secondly, as the saying goes, women dress up for the one who loves them. All the brothers are not here now. Sisters, Even if you dress up like fairies, who are you showing it to? Are you going to show it to those who have nothing to do with us? Wouldn't that be letting those outsiders take advantage of us? It's really not worth it. Sister Butian's words make a lot of sense. Isn't that the case? The girls pondered and nodded, expressing their agreement. That's right, the one they loved wasn't here. Who would they dress up for? Hearing this, they immediately expressed their acceptance of Chu Yang's suggestion. We'll wait for them to come. When they come, we have to recover. Of course. Chu Yang hurriedly agreed, wiping away his cold sweat. With his wife involved, there was no contest. After a simple introduction of the situation outside, Chu Yang gave each of them a light spirit jade to wear on their bodies. Then he carried out a meticulous disguise work inside before bringing the girls out. Now, everyone's figures and appearances, to put it in a very simple way, looking at the back, thinking of committing a crime, looking at the side, thinking of retreating, looking at the front, thinking of self-defense. Well, I don't need to disguise myself. It's too troublesome. Huyan Aobo said casually. The girls were speechless. It was indeed superfluous. In all fairness, Huyan Aobo was definitely not ugly. She could even be considered a beauty. Moreover, she had a kind of heroic spirit that no other girls had. Well, just that, her skeleton was slightly bigger. She was just a few sizes bigger than the average girl. Even if this kind of girl was very beautiful, but just by looking at the way she walked on the road, she was even more valiant than a man. Ordinary men would definitely stay away from her. Who would be willing to be beaten by a woman like a punching bag? Chu Yang grimaced as if he had a toothache. He admitted, cough cough. If Aobo isn't willing, then it's fine. Do you mean that I'm ugly? Huyan Aobo asked. This? Chu Yang was instantly dumbfounded. How should he put it? I'm not good looking to begin with. Huyan Aobo snorted and turned her head. Chu Yang was sweating profusely. This sentence was too difficult to explain. Fortunately, Huyan Aobo didn't care. After the girls came out, it only took a little time for them to carry out their duties. During this period of time, Tai Budian had a clear understanding of the temperaments of the sisters. Just a casual assignment was enough to make everyone happy. Sister Miao Ling, you're the most stable. Please be the housekeeper of our clan. I guarantee that everyone will listen to your commands. Gu Miao Ling was originally the housekeeper of the Gu clan. Now, she could be considered to have been reinstated. Well, as for the two sisters-in-law, she said to the two wives of Ao Xian, I'll leave the two of you in charge of the inner court. All the female servants and maids will be chosen by you. Then, report to Sister Miao Ling and make the appropriate arrangements. Sister Danfeng and Aobo, the two of you will be in charge of external affairs, including the arrangement of procurement. Sister Aobo will be in charge and Sister Danfeng will assist. No problem. The two of them were partners that complemented each other. Sisters-in-law of the Xie clan, how about you be in charge of those children? Chapter 1795. Madame Mei, Xie Danqiong's wife, was gentle and graceful. She seemed to be full of motherly warmth. She was the most suitable person to be the housekeeper of those children. www. Gun. COM** in the blink of an eye, Tai Budian had made all the arrangements. Then, she briefly introduced the environment of the Heaven Imperial Court and called over a few people to be her attendants. After taking the money from Chu Yang, the ladies left in a hubbub and went to Purple Cloud City to make a big purchase. Is this okay? Chu Yang was a little hesitant. He looked at his surroundings, which had become empty in the blink of an eye. Trust me, don't worry. Tai Budian smiled. You're not a woman and you don't understand women at all. These things, including the purchase, price, needs, etc. If it were a man, he might not be able to do it without half a month's time. Even if he could do it, it might not be easy. But if it were a woman, it wouldn't even take half a day. It's easy. Tai Budian smiled. This is the fundamental difference between men and women. Chu Yang was stunned. He really didn't know this. Seeing that Chu Yang was in a daze, Tai Budian moved gently to his side and asked, What about me? What do I do? Chu Yang grinned and said with a smile, Your Majesty's task is to warm my bed. You don't have to worry about anything else." Tai Budin blushed at once. She spat. "You're not serious at all." Her eyes were like spring water as she glanced at him. Just like that, Chu Yang was intoxicated. Even though Tai Butian's face had also been darkened by now, the way her eyes twinkled still made Chu Yang's soul almost leave his body. This was the first time Tai Butian looked at someone with that kind of feminine gaze. Chu Yang didn't expect that the dignified and solemn emperor could also look at him like that. He didn't have any resistance at all. He went limp at once. After calming himself down, Chu Yang recovered a little. He said, "But actually, what I want you to do is the most important." "What is it?" asked Tai Budin. "In the future, no matter where our forces develop," Chu Yang said seriously, "we need someone to control the overall situation. And this person can't be me." Tai Budin frowned. What kind of person was she? She knew what he meant just by hearing his words. "You're planning to?" "Right now, we don't have any generals as our vanguard, so at this stage, we still need to charge and break through enemy lines and seize territory. However, those who control the overall situation in the rear are also a heavy burden." Chu Yang gently exhaled. "I want to hear." Just like in the lower three heavens, he would become an emperor. Take control of all our forces. Chu Yang looked deeply into Tai Butian's eyes. "One day, in this celestial imperial court, we will also rule the world." Tai Butian's heart trembled. Chu Yang's ambition was actually so great. This was not the Double Heaven continent. This was the Double Heaven imperial court, where experts were as common as clouds. Overlooking the world? Was it really possible? Nothing is absolute in this world. If he dared to think about it, he was already halfway to success. In the future, we will definitely have to fight against the extraterrestrial demons. Therefore, it is necessary to have a strong and powerful force as a backing. It must be under our complete control. During the battle, we can't rely on the heavenly imperial court saint. Even, we can't rely on Shui Leihan. In a life and death situation, we can only rely on ourselves. Chu Yang's voice was very heavy. He said, "Back then, the heavenly emperor of the purple clouds was so powerful and awe-inspiring. Even with everything he had, he still couldn't resist the extraterrestrial demons. We must at least develop until we are stronger than the heavenly emperor of the purple clouds and possess greater strength. Only then can we dare to say that we will fight the extraterrestrial demons. Otherwise, it will just be a farce." "I understand." Tai Butian's eyes shone brightly. She said gently, "As long as it is what you need, I will do my best. Even if you want the entire Double Heaven Imperial Court, I will think of a way to take it down for you." Chu Yang looked at her lovingly and said, "This will be very, very hard on you." "It's been hard on you." Tai Butian smiled slightly and said, "Compared to when you first arrived at Iron Cloud and faced Diwu Qingru, was it harder for me then? Now, at least I still have you." Chu Yang laughed, his heroic spirit instantly rising. "Yes, even though it was tough now, it was still much easier than when Tai Butian was at that time. When I came up with you, I originally thought that I had fulfilled my life's wish." Tai Butian smiled and said softly, "Chu Yang, actually, my wish has always been not to rule the world or to become some kind of ruler. I just want to be a little woman by your side." Tai Butian said softly, "This is my life's wish to follow you and be a little woman who follows her husband." Her eyes looked somewhat deeply into the distance. Finally, she said, "However, since I have followed you, I will work hard for our lives together with you. If you want to be grand, I will accompany you to fight the Heaven Wasteland domain. If you want to achieve great ambitions, I will accompany you to rule the world. If you want to fight the extraterrestrial demons, I can only laugh proudly in life and death with you." A warm current surged in Chu Yang's heart. He said, "It is destined to be hard for you to follow me." Tai Butian said quietly, "But after all, we will be together. Whether it is life and death, peace and happiness, or wandering about." Chu Yang breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Yes." Tai Butian smiled and slowly took out the indiscernible illusion jade from her own ring. She said softly, Since I am going to become an empress or some kind of leader, I cannot be a woman. In the afternoon, I will list out the preliminary plan for you to see, including the various levels of the system and how to develop it. You can add after you see it and we will discuss and finalize it. Chu Yang blinked and said, Don't wear that first, Before. Tai Budian frowned and looked at him in confusion. Cough cough. It has been such a long time. I really miss your Majesty's body. Chu Yang winked. Let me have a private chat with your Majesty first. Tai Budian's face turned completely red at once. She turned around and was about to escape when Chu Yang grabbed her. Without any explanation, he carried her into his room. The door was closed. No. It is still daytime now. We can't do it in daytime. Tai Budian pushed Chu Yang's body with all her might and pleaded, How about at night? So what if it is daytime? Can't I report to your Majesty during the day? Human relations are the most important. Everything else can stand to the side. Chu Yang's body pressed heavily against Tai Budian's soft and delicate body. His mouth was wide open and he was kissing and sniffing everywhere. His hands had already slipped inside and were caressing Tai Budian's smooth and creamy body. No. I'll go wash my face first. Tai Budian refused. There's no need for that. Your Majesty is very clean. Chu Yang had already taken off all his clothes by now. He reached out and tore off the last piece of clothing on Tai Budian's body. Then he pressed his body against hers. Your Majesty, I'm coming. Please spread your legs apart, Your Majesty. It's so slippery. Following Tai Budian's feeble moans, I'm officially working hard for the Emperor, cough cough. I'll omit 3 million words here. By the time the few women returned with the majestic purchasing team, the sky had already darkened. One could look down on women's other abilities, but one absolutely could not underestimate their shopping prowess. Buying the best and most suitable items with the least amount of money was originally a woman's innate skill. Any woman had this great ability. As far as the eye could see, rows and rows of horse carriages entered the Li clan courtyard like a long dragon. Of course. Now, it was no longer appropriate to use the name Li clan courtyard, because Divine Dr. Chu had officially become the owner of this place. This place should be called Chu Clan Courtyard. Bien Albois and the others began to do their own things. They each divided their own areas. Everyone was exceptionally smart and did things exceptionally quickly. In just a short period of time, they each divided their own areas. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. There was absolutely nothing that was overstepped. But it was definitely not too little. It was just right. It was believed that even if Tai Budian personally divided the distribution, location, size, and personnel, she could at most arrange it to this extent. Everyone was very clear in their hearts. Although this place was nominally the Chu clan, in fact, the brothers still had to gather here in the end. This place was also the common family property of all the brothers. This place was the foundation. This place was everyone's home. The place where the most original base was located. So, everyone was very active. They did their best to complete their own work. Besides, it was their first time here. Every place in this heavenly imperial court was filled with novelty. The brothers' wives were all dazzled for a moment. With such a good place, they naturally had to walk around more. They didn't want to stay in that strange space anymore. At night, the Chu clan courtyard held a big banquet for the first time. Nominally, it was for the completion of the Chu clan courtyard. In fact, it was naturally to welcome the arrival of the girls. Chu Yang and Tai Budian attended. Originally, they had intended to invite Yen Russian and Shifty Guy. But when the two saw that the table was full of girls, and all of them were ugly girls, they straightforwardly declined the invitation. They ordered wine and dishes and drank together. The two of them drank and chatted. Their hearts were filled with astonishment. Is there something wrong with Chu Yang's head? Is it because of his martial arts that he suffered too much of a blow? The timing doesn't match. I think he has known these girls for quite a long time. Maybe there's something wrong with his sense of beauty. No one is too perfect. He has a handsome appearance and a strong physique. He's young and talented. But he lacks a proper sense of beauty. God is still very fair. Indeed. Actually, these girls' figures are quite good. It's just that they're a little tanned and ugly. That's why I said there's something wrong with Chu Yang's sense of beauty. He likes girls like this. Everyone has their own preferences. Sigh. Compared to those girls, I suddenly feel that my fiancée is actually a very good beauty. I kind of miss her. What? You have a fiancée? Someone like you actually has someone with your looks? You didn't snatch her away, did you? Quick, tell me in detail. Sigh, I didn't snatch her away. In fact, she was the one who forced me. Ah, is your fiancé blind? What do you mean by that? What can I mean? It's a rational analysis. Isn't it the truth? When you recover, I want to fight with you. You, back then? Chapter 1796. Yen Russian and Yen Russians started the conversation. As they drank more and more wine, their tongues got bigger and bigger, and the topic naturally got further and further away. On the other side, when Chu Yang brought Tai Budian out, everyone had a strange look in their eyes. Tai Budian had already tried her best to control herself when she walked out, but her legs were still a little weak. Sitting there, she didn't seem much better than a puddle of mud. The girls were all experienced, and they sized up Tai Budian's face and body meaningfully. Tai Budian hung her head low, and even her neck was red. Then, the girls' faces also turned red. So, no one spoke during the meal. They all ate in silence, drank in silence, and picked up food in silence. After the meal, the girls ran away as if they were running for their lives. Tai Budian pinched Chu Yang hard, and she was so embarrassed that she almost went crazy. It's all your fault, all your fault, all your fault, Chu Yang laughed. That night, Chu Yang called the girls for a meeting again. Everyone was given a few elixirs to increase their cultivation. Chu Yang did this because he wanted these girls to break through to the supreme level in the shortest time possible. At least they had the ability to protect themselves, and the stronger they were, the better. In the heavenly continent, there were heavenly restrictions, and it wasn't advisable to increase one's cultivation too much. But in the heavenly imperial court, such restrictions were much less. At least before reaching the human level, there weren't too many restrictions. At the very least, there was too much buffering, which could dilute the drawbacks of such rapid improvement. The sky was endless. This was the evaluation of cultivation in the heavenly imperial court. In addition to increasing one's cultivation, one also had to change one's original aptitude. Chu Yang's spring of life, Xianyin bone-destroying water, and other rare resources could really show their original effects in the heavenly imperial court. That night was a night of improvement that no one knew of, but had a profound and far-reaching impact. Chu Yang had already decided to invest all the resources he had in an all-round way, regardless of the cost. He had to achieve the most ideal and best results. Everyone was silently improving their cultivation in their own rooms. On the roof of the core of the Chu clan's courtyard, a small white figure squatted quietly under a hidden roof somewhere. Although the white figure was only the size of a palm, it was fully focused at this moment. Brother Hu released a huge amount of spiritual energy to completely seal off the entire Chu clan's courtyard. This was its home ground. If by chance, someone dared to come and make trouble tonight, Brother Tiger will kill him mercilessly. Even more coincidentally, Yen Russian and Creepy Cat drank until they were sober than a drunken cat. Once again, they missed the chance to experience a certain brother's terrifying power. Why did he say, again? In any case, he had missed it. The night passed peacefully and quietly. The aura of a breakthrough shot up to the sky, but it was suppressed by Brother Tiger's powerful spiritual power, not allowing it to spread out. Under Chu Yang's generous support, the girls broke through one after another. Hearing the surprised cries of the girls below, Brother Tiger, who was on the roof, curled his lips in disdain. Is this achievement worth being happy about? Aren't you embarrassed? Have you seen the world? Do you have some knowledge? Could he still be a little more promising? How shameful, how shameful. Originally, Chu Yang had already laid down an extremely solid foundation for Tai Budian. When she was in the upper three heavens, her strength had already broken through to first-grade supreme martial artist. This time, under Chu Yang's unstinting efforts, Tai Butian directly advanced by 3 levels. This progress was not as fast as Chu Yang's. But compared to people who had just ascended from other continents, she could already be considered as a powerhouse. It was the same for Xie Danfeng and the other girls. The ones with the weakest foundation were probably Ao Xieyun's 2 wives. After this night of improvement, they had barely reached the martial saint level. Well, this martial saint level was the standard of the martial saint level in the Heaven continent, not the martial saint level in the Heaven Imperial Court, in the wee hours. Chu Yang gave Yen Russian another round of acupuncture before he slowly made his way to the kitchen. Many people were busy working in full swing. They had to cook for more than 1,000 people at once. This was not an easy task. In addition to having enough manpower, they also had to have enough cooking equipment. And the location. On one side there were 10 big pots. In the big pots was the rice soup that Chu Yang had specially requested. Chu Yang had set a rule. Everyone, every meal, must drink the soup. Those who did not drink it would be expelled forever. To be honest, this rice soup was almost the most delicious food for these poor teenagers. How could they not drink it? Seeing that the rice soup was bubbling, it looked like it was about to be cooked. Chu Yang walked around the 10 cauldrons and silently added some special things into the spring of life in each cauldron. Then he added a heavy pill into each cauldron. These teenagers were the development targets of Chu Yang's plan. They were the key aids to his future development. To be honest, these people's aptitudes were not very good. But then again, if they were good, even if they were beggars or orphans, they would have been recruited into some sects long ago. Not good aptitudes? Not afraid. Because Chu Yang had something that could defy the natural order, the heavy pill. This was a treasure that could change one's aptitudes. Back then, Mo Qingwu only had 1 heavy pill, and because of that, her aptitude turned into a treasure. Although these little fellows were eaten by 1,000 people, their aptitudes should become very impressive after a few days. At least, they would have the aptitudes of a human or better. Once they got better, it would not be a rare thing for them to become excellent aptitudes. The scene of 1,000 people eating at breakfast, in Chu Yang's eyes, and in his ears, the sound of 1,000 people eating together could only be described as magnificent. Even with Chu Yang's calm temperament, he could not help but feel a cold sweat on his back. Half-grown people die of old age. This was truly a wise saying. Chu Yang felt that these words were too reasonable. These little fellows were basically in an atmosphere of hunger and cold before. Now that there was delicious food in their hands, not only could they eat, but they could also eat as much as they wanted. Their eating and drinking speed was naturally not bad, almost comparable to a martial arts master's fight. Everyone's eyes were looking at Chu Yang with respect and gratitude. Being young was not a problem. Surviving in this cold and heartless world made these little fellows mature very early. Everyone knew that if it was not for Brother Chu Yang in front of them, they did not know what kind of miserable end they would have had. Everyone was also grateful from the bottom of their hearts. The grace of saving their lives, the grace of saving their lives. From the beginning to the end, Chu Yang almost did not say anything, but he had already won the heartfelt love and respect of these little fellows. After eating, they began to distribute their work. Except for the little fellows under 10 years old, the rest who had a certain amount of physical strength were distributed to different positions. Looking at the few women calmly distributing tasks, Chu Yang could not help but want to laugh. Group by group, they left the dining hall in an orderly manner. Chu Yang returned to the meeting hall and immediately found someone to arrange to demolish all the land and houses that he had bought at the beginning of the men's hall to build a unified big courtyard. Money made the world go round. As the money was in place, the new construction began. At present, Chu Yang was not short of money. Naturally, he could not scrimp on the money that should be spent. The former Li clan courtyard, the current Chu clan courtyard, was still in full swing. All the gardens, ponds, and rockery were raised. Rooms rose from the ground one by one. The courtyard walls were thickened and raised to the maximum. Chu Yang, no matter how thick and tall this thing is, it won't be of much use. Fishy Guy was full of doubts. If an expert comes, it will be useless. If an expert comes, he can punch a hole in one punch. For example, if it's me, I can collapse it with a few slaps. I have my own plans, Chu Yang said lightly. But in his heart he was thinking, punch a hole in one punch? Collapse it with a few slaps? How can it be so easy? The courtyard walls that I, Chu Yang, have supervised in building are not really completed yet. When it's completed according to my plan, even you, a heaven-level expert, may not be able to make a hole. Let's wait and see. Just as they were chatting, suddenly, a loud roar came from the direction of the gate. Chu Yang! Chu Yang! Divine Dr. Chu! Brother Chu! My good brother! Then a large group of people rushed in. The first person was the city lord, Dong Lai. When he saw Chu Yang, he rushed up and held Chu Yang's hand, shaking it vigorously. Brother, oh brother, you're really too. His excitement was evident in his words. Chu Yang was shaken to the point that he could not stand steadily. He cursed in his heart. Damn it, so what if your cultivation is high? When your old cultivation is high, I'll shake you to pieces. The city lord couldn't help but be excited. How could he not be excited? Last night, after taking Chu Yang's medicine, the city lord had regained his former vigor. In one night, he had ruthlessly dealt with that bitch, who had always looked down on him and didn't dare to face her, for some reason, for an entire night. Seeing her begging for mercy under his body, the city lord's heart was filled with satisfaction. In the end, it became an interrogation. Do you still dare to look down on me? Do you still dare to do that? Do you still dare to do that? Until the early morning of this day, the city lord finally got up from the mud-like body and roared to the sky. I can do it again. I'm even more powerful now. It's really fucking cool. After tasting this extreme happiness and satisfaction again, the city lord came over to thank Chu Yang at the first moment. If it wasn't for Chu Yang, my generation? Thinking of this, the city lord's hair stood on end. Fear, panic, please don't let that sad feeling come again. You're welcome. Chu Yang laughed heartily. Treating the city lord's injuries is also my duty as a doctor. As he said, he lowered his voice and said, but the treatment will continue for half a year. Make sure to do it once every half a month. Don't miss it. Yes. The city lord laughed and said incoherently. He waved his hand and said, today, I've brought people to congratulate you on your move. Brother Chu has officially settled in our Wuxia city. It's a great joy. Ah? That's great. Please come in. It is my honor to be honored by your presence. Chapter 1797. Today, there was another big banquet, singing and dancing to celebrate the peace. If not for Chu Yang's insistence, the city lord would have made Chu Yang bow to him. Of course, the city lord was also here to collect debts. He had only reached his goal yesterday and hadn't started collecting money yet. Chu Yang paid the money without hesitation. Now that the city lord had food in his hands, he was no longer anxious. He happily drank until he was dead drunk. After sending off wave after wave of people who came to congratulate me, it's already nighttime again. Fishy had returned to his seclusion. This fellow had noticed that his fiancée was about to arrive. Although he seemed to be looking forward to it yesterday, he had drunk a lot of wine and was now hiding in his room every day. He didn't even want to come out of his room, let alone go out. For the convenience of teaching, his room was set up in a small room in the hall. It was small, but it was connected to the Li family's library. Fishy went in and forgot about his meals and sleep. He had finally found a good place to go. Yen Russian immediately used his energy to call for Chu Yang. Chu Yang hurried over. Something's not right. Could it be that my spiritual sense is affected by my injuries? Yen Russian frowned deeply. The shit that these fellows watched yesterday was all rubbish. They can't even be considered mediocre. Why is there an improvement today? A few of them are even better than average. How did this happen? Chu Yang was elated but pretended to be confused. Oh, really? It seemed that after 3 to 4 consecutive meals, there was an effect? My spiritual sense shouldn't have such a big flaw. Don't tell me you used some special method? Yen Russian looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze. Chu Yang repeatedly cried out, If I had such a heaven-defying method to change someone's aptitude, I would have used it on ZJ first. Others may not know, but Brother Yen, you should know my situation. Yen Russian pondered for a moment. What he said did make sense. This fellow's dantian was worse than trash. If he really had such a method to change someone's aptitude, he would have used it on ZJ long ago. What the hell is going on? Is there really something wrong with my spiritual sense? Otherwise, why would so many people be mistaken? Yen Russian was perplexed. Even in his wildest dreams, he would never have imagined that there would be such a huge change. Big Brother Yen, what do you think? Chu Yang pondered for a while and said, these little guys originally had good aptitudes. But, because of years of poverty and hardship, the potential of their bodies has been slowly eroded or covered up by external factors. After eating and drinking to their fill today, their nutrition has caught up. Start to reveal itself slowly? You didn't see it before not because there was a problem with your spiritual sense, but because you were deceived by the illusion. Yen Russian furrowed his eyebrows. What's this? There have been precedents where someone's spiritual perception could be deceived. Chu Yang curled his lips and said, that's hard to say. Nothing is absolute in this world. If we really want to check one's aptitude, at the very least, we'll have to wait for a few days until their body's nutrition returns to normal. Only then will we be able to see their true quality. These few days will be the best time to replenish their bodies. Perhaps there will be some deviation. You don't have to worry too much about it. I believe that the problem won't lie with you. Yen Russian nodded. Before they could find out the exact reason, Chu Yang's statement was probably the closest to the truth. Then we'll wait a few days and see. Maybe the heavens will bless the good. Maybe you'll be able to take advantage of the situation. Yes, I'll take your blessings. Oh yes. How many days will it take for Big Brother Yen to fully recover from his injuries? About 7 to 8 days. Yen Russian smiled. Today's sex is a lot lighter. I can gather a certain amount of heaven and earth's essence energy. Ordinary activities won't be a problem anymore. That's great. Brother Yen, after you recover, don't forget about Wang Dao. Chu Yang chuckled. So that's what you had in mind. I really thought that you cared about your big brother Yen. Sigh, I'm so disappointed. Hee hee. For the next few days, orphans from the surrounding areas of Wuxia city flooded in. Chu Yang, who was not short of money, continued to open the doors for the orphans. So far, he had taken in more than 5,000 orphans. Wuxia city was originally a neighboring area. The 5,000 orphans were basically all taken in. Only then did Chu Yang stop the expansion. He served these little ancestors with delicious food and drinks. His face was full of smiles. This was all part of Chu Yang's grand plan. At night, the spirit beast game was held again. The Jin clan and Wu clan were unhappy with Chu Yang's rapid rise. However, Chu Yang never came to places like the beast fighting arena. The two clans were very depressed about this. They grabbed Jin Yukai and insisted on a spirit beast fight to vent their frustrations. Great philanthropist Jen put out a huge bet of 5,000 Wuxia dollars. You want me to vent my anger? Sure, as long as you have the money. Brother who played the pig to eat the tiger for 2 consecutive rounds. Although he was covered in injuries and was in an exceptionally tragic state, he won a total of 17,000 Wuxia dollars for Chu Yang. Yes, including the peripheral bets. The two clans complained about this result. Their desire to target Jin Yukai became stronger and stronger. They wantonly mobilized their own financial reserves and did not hesitate to fight. However, Jin Yukai never showed up again. It was as if he had disappeared from the world. For 3 consecutive days, the progress of the Chu clan's compound was officially on the right track. Other than the fact that there were still high-level martial artists in charge, everything was basically in order. All the adopted orphans were basically above the age of 5 and below the age of 15. Chu Yang directly divided them into groups according to their age. The 5-year-olds were in one group. The 7-year-olds were in one group. The 8-year-olds were in one group. Yes, the 15-year-olds were in one group. Chu Yang's current target was the oldest groups of 14 and 15-year-olds. The other groups were too young. They could not even be considered as teenagers. They had other uses in Chu Yang's plan. Brother who appeared and disappeared more and more mysteriously these few days. Other than asking Chu Yang for purple crystals on time, he did not show his face much. He also did not say anything when Chu Yang asked. Finally, tonight, what? The purple crystals are gone? How can they be gone? Brother who looked at the purple crystals in front of him, which were less than half of what they used to be. He could not help but feel a little disappointed. They're gone. This time it's real. Chu Yang also heaved a sigh of relief. They were finally gone. Who would have thought that more than 1 billion purple crystals would be completely swallowed by this palm-sized fellow in just a few days? Chu Yang was surprised that these purple crystals could at least last 10 days to half a month. Now that he thought about it, ZJ was too optimistic at that time. How can they be gone? Why didn't you store up more purple crystals? Brother who was a little dejected. Over the past few days, his injuries had been recovering at a rapid pace. Why did it suddenly stop? Yes, the purple crystals are indeed gone. But I still have a lot of purple crystal cores. Can you make do with it? Chu Yang blinked and lowered his attitude. What? Purple crystal cores? Make do? You can really make do. Brother whose eyes turned into purple crystal cores. Is what you said true? Where have you been these few nights? As long as you tell me, I'll give it to you. I'll let you make do with it. Chu Yang still could not understand. This fellow was supposed to be following ZJ. Why did he disappear these few days? Aren't you going to make do with it? Brother whose eyes widened. It seemed that Chu Yang should make do with it. Should I make do with it? Chu Yang was puzzled for a while. I'm really not stupid. How can I still be puzzled after thinking for so long? I even bothered to ask you. Am I crazy? Brother who instantly flew into a rage and roared. I've been working for you these few days. I've been working myself to death. You're having fun with your wife, and now you're questioning me. Do you still have some conscience? Oh heavens, oh earth, is there still any justice in this world? Chu Yang was speechless. What did you do? Don't you have eyes? I've been strengthening your loyalty these few days. Brother who looked at Chu Yang quizzically. Don't you know that people change? You've done so much and taken in so many orphans. Perhaps these people will be grateful to you at the start, but they'll get used to it. This gratitude will be gone. Using the words of your people, you'll be grateful if you raise the rice, but hate if you raise the rice. Don't you understand such a simple logic? I'm following a fucking person now. The heavens are blind. And don't go crazy. I naturally understand this logic. Chu Yang frowned. In fact, this was also his biggest headache now. He subconsciously asked, do you have a way to solve this problem? Yes, no matter how grateful they were when they were young, as they grew older and experienced more, there were too few people who could maintain their conscience and be grateful. They could even betray the kindness of saving their lives, let alone the kindness of taking them in. Furthermore, in Chu Yang's plan, these children were not going to be by his side. If they grew up in other places, it was hard to say if they would even remember him, let alone be grateful. Chu Yang had been thinking about this problem these few days. If they were not mature, he would only use those older ones and groom some of them. But that would require a lot of manpower and resources. When these little fellows grew up, the resources used would be enough to fill up the ocean. Nonsense, of course there's a way. Brother Tiger said proudly. They have never cultivated before. I'm just carving their memories of being poor and their memories of being taken in by you into the deepest part of their hearts. Furthermore, I'm transforming their memories into a seed that will be loyal to you forever. Brother Tiger said, this way, as they grow, as they cultivate, they will become more and more loyal to you. Furthermore, this will not cause any burden or harm to them. Because of the condensation of their memories, their souls will have something to rely on, and they will not be swayed. It's also very beneficial to their cultivation. There's such a thing? You're not lying to me, right? Chu Yang's eyes widened, and he said seriously, did you make a contract or something like that? That kind of thing can restrict a person's soul the most, and it's very harmful to the soul. If that's the case, I'd rather not have this plan. I can make use of everyone in the world, But I can't make use of these young children. How can I make use of their memories when they're so young? Chu Yang's expression was very serious. Chapter 1798. Bullshit, why would I lie to you? This is just one of the many techniques I've learned when I was roaming the universe. How can it be considered as a technique? If it's harmful, you can twist my head off and use it as a urinal. Brother Tiger looked at Chu Yang with disdain. This is a technique similar to hypnosis. It will magnify your benefits and form a belief in her heart. Brother Tiger said, "Is it creating a god?" Chu Yang frowned and realized something. Creating a god? That's right. There were no gods in the world, but when people worshipped more, there was a god. Can you say that those who worship gods are harmful? Brother Tiger asked in return. I see. Chu Yang was relieved. His heart trembled as he realized how terrifying this technique was. If he kept using this technique, wouldn't he be a traitor in this world? Brother Tiger saw Chu Yang's doubts and said, "Do you think that anyone can use this technique? Firstly, one must practice this kind of technique. Secondly, one's cultivation must reach the level where one's soul can roam the heaven realm. Thirdly, this kind of technique is only suitable for a person who starts practicing when they are still in the earth realm or when their cultivation is very low. Only then will it have the greatest effect. Do you think that a heavenly human or saint-level person would use this technique on a Xian spirit-level person? No. It's a waste of time and completely useless." Then isn't it fine? Brother Tiger said, "If I didn't see that you were so concerned about these little fellows and have so many backup plans, do you think I would do such a thankless thing?" Chu Yang laughed and said, "Not bad, not bad. Brother Tiger, you are indeed worthy of praise." Brother Tiger said proudly, "Purple crystal core, hand it over. I've helped you so much. Do you still want to be stingy with the purple crystal core?" "Pa, this is great." Chu Yang laughed happily and waved his hand. Countless purple crystal cores instantly drowned Brother Tiger, completely burying him. Brother Tiger screamed and was smashed into the ground before he could see clearly what it was. "Meow. You want to smash me to death? These are all tricks." Brother Tiger shook his head and wagged his tail as he crawled out. The next moment, his eyes widened. "Meow. So much, Pa. I'm rich, I'm rich." He watched as Brother Tiger ate heartily. Chu Yang, on the other hand, was stroking his chin in deep thought. Now, the situation is more or less settled. Should I summon those people and those sects? This was a magnificent action. This was Chu Yang's most magnificent plan. As long as this plan started, Chu Yang's day of dominating the heavenly imperial court would begin. But it was very difficult. It needed the most precise design, it needed the greatest temptation, it needed a world-shaking commotion. If the above conditions were not met, then everything that Chu Yang was doing now would be useless. Although it couldn't be said to be useless, it would still be difficult to achieve much. Chu Yang racked his brains to think. That night, Fourth Master Hua quietly entered the City Lord's manor alone. "City Lord, I wonder if your injuries have healed?" "Pa. What do you mean by fucking me?" "Ha. I've come to see you this time because I want to ask for a favor from the City Lord, Shmi. Our River East Hua clan. We are willing to buy Infinite Boundless Mountain to the north of Purple Cloud City at 10 times the market price. As our clan's base, we hope that the City Lord will grant us our wish." Infinite Boundless Mountain? That's not a small area. It's a few thousand miles wide. The price is also a few 100,000 Purple Cloud dollars. 10 times the market price. Our Hua clan is willing to pay 3 million Purple Cloud dollars. We will cash it on the spot without delay. 3 million? Cash it on the spot? The City Lord stood up abruptly. "That's right. If you agree, this sum of money, you can hand it over immediately. I see the sincerity of the Hua clan. It's just that. According to the laws of the Heavenly Imperial Court, this kind of land and mountain range is definitely not allowed to be sold." The City Lord was very tempted by this deal. But he was afraid of the laws and seemed a little hesitant. If not for the Hua clan's great help this time, the city lord would have kicked him out long ago just for the sake of the laws and regulations. But now, he was a little embarrassed. There's no need for the city lord to be troubled. Perhaps we can do this. We are not buying the land permanently, but buying the right to use it for 100 years. Fourth Master Hua said in a different way. In this way, after 100 years, this land will still belong to Purple Cloud City, belonging to the Eastern Imperial world. This way, both sides will benefit, and everyone will be happy. This, City Lord, Fourth Master Hua said. As long as this matter is successful, our Hua clan will definitely not forget about you. What? You still want to bribe me? The city lord's face instantly darkened. I don't dare, I don't dare. Who doesn't know that Sir is upright and honest? How could he be bought over by mere bribery? But as a friend, we have the right to exchange gifts. Reciprocity is the most basic form of etiquette. Fourth Master Hua's smile was somewhat humble, and his words were even more beautiful. Forget it. You aren't planning to destroy this mountain, right? Or is there a hidden treasure at the bottom of the mountain? The city lord's eyes were like two sharp swords. That's not it. Fourth Master Hua's expression did not change. He lowered his voice and said, I won't hide it from you, sir. At the bottom of the mountain, there is a dragon vein. What our Jiangdong Hua clan lacks right now is luck. I believe that you are also aware of this. Dong Lai slowly nodded. This explanation was more believable. There were rumors in the Jiangdong Hua clan that their luck was about to end, and they were crazily looking for a dragon vein. To them, a dragon vein was indeed a priceless treasure. It was related to the prosperity of their clan. I hope that you, sir, can fulfill my wish. Fourth Master Hua saw that he was deep in thought and actually stood up. He respectfully bowed to the ground. For the Hua clan, I hope that you, sir, can fulfill my wish. Forget it. The city lord let out a sigh of relief. Tomorrow I will send someone to hand it over to you, but it can only be temporarily rented. Fourth Master Hua, what the hell? MNGB. It's enough. Thank you, sir. Fourth Master Hua understood and nodded. The moment he walked out of the city lord's residence, Fourth Master Hua let out a long breath. It was finally done. Two black figures flashed from the side. Fourth Master, how was it? It's done. Fourth Master Hua's eyes flickered. Immediately inform the clan to send experts over and complete this as soon as possible. This concerns the future of the clan. There must not be any mistakes. Yes. Just as Fourth Master Hua walked into the city lord's residence, Chu clan's courtyard. It was also the first time in history that all relevant personnel had been gathered together. Or rather, it was a large-scale gathering of everyone. Really, everyone was participating, including the servants and the children. Even Yen Russian and Shifu Nian, these two outsiders who were not considered outsiders. The host was Chu Yang. Tai Badian. Groups of youths and children filed in from the outside. They sat down according to a certain order and specific positions. Everyone was dressed in brand new and fitting clothes, and they were all dressed in the same way. There were at least 5,000 people here. It was the first time in their lives that they were wearing brand new and comfortable clothes that belonged to the ZJ. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement that came from the bottom of their hearts. After the attendance and counting, there were a total of 5,430 people. No one was absent. Everyone was present. Everyone was gathered here, but the place was completely silent. Everyone cherished the life that the ZJ had now. Now was not the time to make a sound. They didn't dare to make a sound. They couldn't make a sound. If by any chance he angered the family head, that would be bad. They would be letting the clan leader down for saving the ZJ. People always had a conscience, especially those who knew how to repay kindness. Chu Yang sat at the highest point. His black robe fluttered in the wind. Like a boulder, it was as if it would continue to exist like this forever. They saw Chu Yang. The 5,000 people's eyes lit up at the same time. This was the person who was our master. This was the person who pulled us out of the abyss. This was the person who gave us hope for the present and the future. This was the person who was our benefactor. For the rest of our lives, we must fight for him and protect everything that belonged to him. At this moment, this thought naturally rose in everyone's heart. And this thought at this time was definitely not influenced by the so-called loyalty that brother who had mentioned earlier. It was because they had not started to refine their loyalty. It was the purest loyalty that came from the purest gratitude. It was a loyalty that went straight to the depths of their souls. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chu Yang slowly stood up. The moment he stood up, everyone, no matter if they were from the ZJ clan, couldn't help but puff out their chests. This was a subconscious action, and the only reason for this action was to show the most beautiful and valuable side of the ZJ in front of this person. This time, I have gathered everyone here to instruct you on a few things. Most importantly, I want to have a chat with all of you. Chu Yang's voice was very calm. It was so calm that there was a subtle feeling of natural calmness. At this moment, there was a sense of authority in his voice. Number one, I believe many of you don't understand why I want to keep all of you here. It's not strange for you to have such doubts. This is human nature. Our Chu clan had just been established, and we have a very strong foundation. There are too many former experts in our clan, and we also have a strong background. Hence, many people feel that we should focus on consolidating our own power and recruit people from all over the place. In any case, we shouldn't spend money on ordinary people, especially on charity. It's a waste and it's meaningless to the clan. Chapter 1799. Everyone has compassion. The fact that I'm doing this doesn't mean that I'm a good person. On the contrary, I'm a person who never forgets to repay kindness. I don't think that all of you are useless. I think that all of you have value, the value of your existence. I believe that all of you can turn the meaningless actions brought about by my compassion into a limitless future, the most glorious future. Chu Yang said lightly, at the very least, if there really comes a day when the Chu clan's courtyard is destroyed, and I run for my life to the side of each of you, you will still do your best to protect me. Even if you have the strength, all of you will still do your best to protect me. I have no doubts about this. Don't all of you think so? Yes. Everyone's voices were in unison at this moment. At this moment, everyone's thoughts were very pure. If we do not protect this person, who will we protect? If we are not loyal to this person, who will we be loyal to? But now, the Chu clan is still very weak. I hope to work with all of you for the future, but now we have to keep a low profile and live with our tails between our legs. Chu Yang's voice sounded bleak in the silent night sky. Because, including me, we are really weak. We are so weak that we cannot withstand a single blow. Any clan can destroy us. We are not a match for any clan. This is the truth. Today, our situation is stable, but we cannot withstand a single blow. The Chu clan needs all of us to protect it together. Everyone's breaths were heavy. Chu Yang's words were very frank and straightforward. It was so straightforward that even a 7-year-old child could completely understand it and understand it. They had food to eat, clothes to wear, and people to protect them. But they could face the danger of being destroyed at any time. Once they were destroyed, they would return to the days when they were in a precarious situation. After experiencing the happiness they had now, who would be willing to return to the days of the past? Even if they were to die, they would not want to. To prevent that from happening, we can only make ZJ stronger. ZJ will protect ZJ. Chu Yang let out a soft sigh. In the future, we will protect our homeland. In the future, there will be more and more weak people joining us. Just like you, they also need our protection. The time left for us to prepare is very short. But we have a choice. Only by facing it head-on and becoming stronger in this short period of time will we have enough strength to protect our country and our home. Chu Yang said lightly, so, are you guys fucking stupid? Did you listen to MNGB? What the fuck? There was a deafening boom. This uniform roar came from everyone's mouths. Everyone was shouting themselves hoarse, and their faces were flushed red. We all came from the bottom, or even from the underground. We're all the ones being trampled on, but we've gathered together and worked hard to become stronger. So strong that no one dares to bully us. Chu Yang said, "Whoever dares to bully us, we will beat them up." Yes. Whoever dares to bully us, we'll beat them up. Another wave of earth-shattering roars rang out. Chu Yang said lightly, "So, we need to spontaneously form a group. We also need to come up with a name for ZJ. A unified name. To witness our birth, to prove our allegiance, and to prove our loyalty." Everyone's eyes were fixed on Chu Yang. Their eyes were burning. Their breathing was rapid. "I used to have an organization. It was called Heavenly Armament Pavilion." Chu Yang said lightly, "It's still the same today. But Heavenly Armament Pavilion is full of heavenly soldiers. And you guys are not qualified to become my heavenly soldiers. So, in the future, I will train you guys. The real heavenly soldiers of Heavenly Armament Pavilion will be born from you guys. Heavenly soldiers of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. This is a noble honor. I hope that each of you will treat this as a lifetime of glory. Use a lifetime of loyalty to live up to the name of Heavenly Soldiers." Below, everyone's eyes were burning. Heavenly soldiers. Will there be a day when we become heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals? I must grab hold of this opportunity. Chu Yang's eyes were sharp. He slowly circled the place and said, "We have to struggle from the cracks. We have to seek survival in this world. We have to survive under the pings of various forces. But all of us have to work hard for Heavenly Armament Pavilion. We have to go crazy for the rise of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. We can't dominate in the open, but we have to control in the underground. Because we have to have self-respect, self-improvement, and self-confidence that is not inferior to anyone in the open. Since it is Heavenly Armament Pavilion, there must be a controller." Chu Yang said, "Heavenly Armament Pavilion was created by me. Naturally, I am the pavilion master. But I still need a strict controller to manage Heavenly Armament Pavilion when I am not around. Normally, he will assist me in all matters regarding Heavenly Armament Pavilion. This person's orders are equivalent to my orders. I hope that everyone will remember this." Everyone's breathing became heavy. Who was this person? How could he obtain the clan master's trust and authority? "This person will be our Heavenly Armament Pavilion's minister. I now appoint Tai Butian as the first minister of Heavenly Armament Pavilion." Everyone was stunned. Tai Butian's minister? Who was that? "Invite Butian's minister." Chu Yang shouted. Since he was going to establish a force, he had to show it on the surface. Not only did he have to show it, he had to show it to the fullest. Yen Russian raised his eyebrows. The crowd parted like a wave. In the distance, there was a person. He was tall and slender, wearing a light floral robe. He walked over slowly with the bearing of an emperor. He was magnanimous and calm. The moment this person appeared, everyone, including Yen Russian and Greasy Bird, who had the highest cultivation, couldn't help but feel their hearts skip a beat as they looked over. Even Brother Tiger, who was on top of the roof, had a cold look in his eyes as he looked over with rapt attention. This person walked over slowly in light robes, but the aura he gave off was clearly that of an emperor inspecting the thousands of miles of mountains and rivers under China's rule. He was receiving all the subjects of China's country. This was the bearing of an emperor that he was born with. The bearing of a ruler that he was born with. He just walked over like this, and it was as if he was above all living things, the ruler of the world. This was something that no one could imitate, and it wasn't a majesty that could be imitated. Even Yen Russian, in the face of this person, felt as if his aura was about to lose its effect. He even felt as if he was facing His Majesty the Eastern Emperor. It was the kind of feeling that I can't help but go forward to pay my respects. Although it was clear that the other party's cultivation was low. He couldn't withstand a single blow. But this feeling was unstoppable and irresistible. Yen Russian was shocked. Who exactly was this person in front of him? This kind of royal aura was actually comparable to His Majesty the Eastern Emperor? They were on par? Huge waves surged in Yen Russian's heart, and he couldn't calm down. Actually, Yen Russian wasn't surprised. His Majesty the Eastern Emperor's cultivation was extraordinary, but deep down he was still more of a martial artist than an emperor when facing enemies. There were still many people who couldn't help but take action, using the identity and methods of martial artists to solve problems. But Tai Budian was different. Tai Budian was a natural emperor. No matter when facing enemies, she only needed to use her status and authority to mobilize the troops. She would never face the enemy personally. In this life, she had even killed people personally, although it was already hard to find a match for her in the lower three heavens. One person's strength. She could fight against 10 or 100 or even 1,000, but rarely could she fight against 10,000. Of course, if you had to give an example of those powerful people who could destroy the world, then I would shut up. Under normal circumstances, with a person's strength, 1 against 1,000, that was the limit. However, under the command of an emperor, tens of millions of corpses could be seen floating in this world. When an emperor was angry, blood would flow all over the world. In this sense, Feng Yu was the first to speak. Compared to Xue Leihan and Tai Budian was actually a true emperor. He was the supreme ruler of the world. Xue Leihan, on the other hand, wasn't pure. Although they were in different planes, an emperor was an emperor. On the throne of China, I am the heavens. My words were my life, and no one could go against it. My orders were strictly enforced, and my words were the law. This was the education that Tai Budian had received since she was young. But even Xue Leihan, sitting on the throne of the Eastern Emperor, didn't dare to say that China was the heavens. This was the difference in essence. Under the gazes of the crowd, Tai Budian walked up the stairs step by step. She walked to the chair beside Chu Yang and slowly turned to sit down. Facing the crowd, she was calm but also had an endless majesty, looking down on the world and the ants. This was just an ordinary stage. Below her was just an ordinary chair. This was just a venue for more than 5,000 people. But when Tai Budian walked up and sat down, it was as if she was a real emperor who was about to be crowned. She appeared in response to the heavens, ruling over the world and looking down on the world and the ants. This kind of aura even made Chu Yang's heart tremble, and he was dazzled. Up till this point, Tai Budian still hadn't said a single word. However, this natural aura of an emperor and the bearing of an emperor had conquered everyone. There was no need for words. There was no need for hype. The emperor's demeanor had conquered everyone. Tai Butian's aura at this moment, even though she didn't have the strength to truss up a chicken, was enough for her to face the emperor of the heavens directly. And in terms of aura, she was even on par with him, not at all inferior. Because, from a certain point of view, everyone was in the same position. Even Chu Yang didn't expect the effect of Tai Butian's appearance to be so shocking that it actually made all the arrangements of the government useless. It was fine not to use it at all, but to use it would be superfluous. Just by looking at everyone's reaction at that time, it was clear that the moment Tai Budian appeared, the underground dynasty was established. It was established in the truest sense. And it was the true unity of the masses. There was no need for words. There was no need at all. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion's minister. A majestic name, a prominent identity. But Chu Yang and Tai Budian both felt a little strange. It was a kind of wonder of the world's reincarnation. Back then, when Chu Yang had nothing and entered Iron Cloud, Tai Budian stood alone and appointed Chu Yang as the minister of Butian Pavilion. Now, the wheel of fortune had turned. Chu Yang also appointed Tai Budian as the minister of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Chapter 1800. Moreover, it was at the end of their lives. Similarly, they were in danger and faced with a bleak future. Similarly, the two of them faced the storm of the world. Both Chu Yang and Tai Budian, this pair of man and woman, felt that the affairs of this world were really a little too miraculous. They couldn't help but feel as if they were going back in time, as if they were reliving the hardships and struggles of Iron Cloud. Both of them felt a warm current flowing through their hearts. Both Chu Yang and Tai Budian knew. The current Heavenly Armament Pavilion was just a group that encouraged people to improve themselves and increase cohesion. What they really wanted was not just a simple Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Both of them were very ambitious. What they really wanted was a dynasty. an underground dynasty. And everything would start from here. Therefore, Tai Butin's ascension today was filled with the aura of an emperor being crowned. Because both of them knew that their achievements would not stop here. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion is yours. Your achievements will determine the achievements of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Your glory will forge the glory of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Tai Butin only said 2 sentences. I will wait and see. With our combined strength, we will make the Heavenly Armament Pavilion rise. I hope to see each of your names on the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Heavenly Armament Pavilion list. There was a huge uproar below. Once upon a time, this was a good thing that they didn't even dare to dream of. Now it was right in front of them. As long as they worked hard, they would be able to get it. From today onwards, becoming a Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Heavenly Armament Pavilion would be the lifelong goal of these little fellows. This was a supreme honor. Everyone was shocked. They all had a feeling. It was a wonderful sense of belonging. And this sense of belonging did not belong to a family. In other people's families, even if they were indebted to them, they would still be their slaves. But being a Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Heavenly Armament Pavilion, it was a great honor. And it was a resounding organization. And it was an organization that they had to rely on their own efforts to protect. This was their organization. Their own. No one could understand how much the sense of belonging of their master would motivate these little fellows. It was unimaginable. On the night of the establishment of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, Chu Yang was called over by Yen Rushan. Brother Chu, who is that person? Yen Rushan looked at Chu Yang with his sharp eyes. Tai Butian's appearance. Yen Rushan was shocked beyond words. He even felt that today's matter could pose a threat to the Eastern Royal Heavens. If this Heavenly Armament Pavilion really developed, it would become the most terrifying organization. This was Yen Rushan's intuition. Because Tai Butian's natural aura of an emperor was too imposing. This kind of aura was definitely not something an ordinary person could have. Faced with the dilemma of friendship and righteousness, the only way was to lay out everything clearly. My wife. Chu Yang didn't hide it. There was no point in hiding the truth from Yen Rushan, and it might even cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Your wife. Yen Rushan's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. What? Such a natural ruler is your wife? Chu Yang is too strong. He can actually suppress such an emperor. This person is a man. Could it be that Chu Yang is actually... My God, should I stay away from him in the future? Another thought suddenly popped into his head. Yen Rushan shuddered in fear. Finally, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Chu Yang could see it clearly. Yen Rushan's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Then he retracted his eyeballs with a whoosh. This showed how shocked Yen Rushan was. This was also a kind of martial art. A very profound martial art. Minister Chu sighed in his heart. What's so strange about this? My wife was an emperor in the past. It's normal for her to do this. Why are you standing so far away from me? Do you think I'll eat you up? You're not imagining things, are you? You've misunderstood. Actually, my wife is a woman. Chu Yang didn't think much of Yen Rushan's fuss. He explained the matter between him and Tai Butian, and explained the disguise very seriously. After all, it wouldn't be good if his new big brother misunderstood. Yen Rushan was relieved, but he couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Brother, I have to say that your wife, sister-in-law, is a natural ruler. In this aspect, you're far inferior to her. The difference is like heaven and earth. Chu Yang pursed his lips. Since you want to establish your own power and you want to control it, then you have to learn to be a qualified ruler. Your wife is already very good at this, but you haven't even started. Yen Rushan lectured. Ruler. Chu Yang muttered to himself. What do you mean by a superior? Yen Rushan pressed. Chu Yang was suddenly at a loss for words. That's right. What is a true superior? What is a real ruler? Chu Yang couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. A ruler is never a title. In different places and environments, there are different definitions of a ruler. In the eyes of a beggar, an ordinary person is a ruler. In the eyes of an ordinary person, a rich person is a ruler. In the eyes of a rich person, an official with power is a ruler. In the eyes of an official, a higher-ranking official is a ruler. In a gang leader or a hall leader is a ruler. Yen Russian said slowly, but can these people really be considered rulers? Because in the eyes of a true ruler, they are nothing. A true ruler doesn't need to move or speak. His every action and every word has the aura of a ruler. Just by sitting, standing, or saying a few words, he can make people feel submissive and even loyal to him. Even an enemy would be full of admiration and respect when facing such a ruler. This is also if the enemy is at the same level. If the enemy is not at the same level, they would feel fear and even despair. Yen Russian said, there is a saying for such an existence, called the aura of a ruler. There is another saying, called the aura of a ruler. Don't laugh, such an aura does exist. In fact, the aura your wife exuded when she walked up the stage today was the standard aura of a ruler, the aura of a ruler. Yen Russian said in a low voice, a true ruler can always rely on his aura alone. Against a million-strong army. Those who have been in a high position for a long time may not be a true ruler even though they are above millions of people. They also make people feel mysterious and not a ruler. Chu Yang nodded deeply and said slowly, I seem to understand a little. My understanding of a ruler is too shallow. To a true ruler, they are a symbol of distance and loneliness. Yen Russian said softly, these words. You have to understand it well. When you understand it, when you do, you will really understand what a ruler is. A ruler? Chu Yang muttered. Suddenly he smiled and said, a ruler needs distance. I know. For example, when everyone is together, I am high and mighty. But that kind of life, I don't like it. Regarding this point, Chu Yang really understood it. Back when he was in charge of Butian Pavilion, Chu Yang was just like this. He always maintained a distance that was difficult to close with his subordinates. From beginning to end, he was always alone and did things alone. But Chu Yang didn't like that kind of life. What he liked was still the brothers playing and laughing together. Even if they beat each other up every day like pigs, their faces swollen and bruised every day, their hearts would still be satisfied and happy. He laughed in a carefree manner. In our family, it's already very good to have such a standard leader. As for me, although I am not a ruler in the standard sense, who dares to say that I am not a ruler? My wife is a ruler, but as her husband am I not. Yen Russian was at a loss for words. After hesitating for a while, he stared and said, if someone like you really reaches the peak, you can only be someone like the emperor, but definitely not someone like the saint. Someone like the emperor. Someone like the saint. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. He said slowly, I roughly understand what you mean. That is to say, the saint of heaven imperial court is a standard ruler? Yen Russian said, yes, that's right. Chu Yang said indifferently, it's precisely because of such people that everyone and all the forces watched purple cloud heavens get destroyed without sending out any troops? Just for a delicate balance of power. Is that what you think? Yen Russian was speechless. He said with his eyes wide open, I didn't say that. Chu Yang said, what you said is not important. Should I understand it this way? The so-called true ruler is someone who can achieve his goals without hesitation, by hook or by crook, just for benefits? And the saint is such a person? That's why you think he's the standard leader, isn't it? Yen Russian was sweating profusely. He said angrily, I didn't say that. I never said that. Chu Yang laughed and said, if that's the case, the saint is also not a true ruler. Yen Russian held his breath and pondered for a moment. Then he heaved a sigh of relief. The saint is not a ruler? Yen Russian suddenly felt that this sentence was not without reason, at least, compared to a ruler like Tai Banin, the saint seemed to lack a kind of grandeur. Yen Russian was confused and fell silent. Chu Yang also suddenly became silent. He was shocked by his own words that made him laugh out loud. The saint is not a ruler. Chu Yang felt like thousands of lines were refracted in his mind in an instant. Then he didn't know where he was thinking. He felt like there were 1,000 things on his mind, and his emotions were complicated. Faintly, there was also some fear. The two of them looked at each other. Chu Yang and Yen Russian both saw a trace of fear in each other's eyes. But neither of them asked, neither of them said a word. At the same time, they fell silent. This debate about the ruler seemed to have no conclusion, but it had a profound impact on Chu Yang, Yen Russian, and even the entire heaven. P.S. An inheritance dispute at my wife's house. Sigh, it's so busy. Aunt Feng, who went home to mediate, had just entered the house when a basin flew at her and hit her calf like a flying saucer. Damn it. I'm still limping after getting stitches. There are many other injured people. Now, I have to run between my home, the hospital, and my wife's house. I'd rather spend more money in the hospital. Why bother? I'm speechless. Even I, who was purely trying to stop the fight, was caught in the crossfire. After a busy day of showering, I discovered that my head was also broken and my neck was scratched twice. I didn't even know when it happened. I didn't even notice it. I had no choice but to take leave yesterday. I'm really sorry. Why do I always take leave at the end of the month? Speechless. When Ian. Chapter 1801. For the next few days, Chu Yang stayed at home all day long. He didn't need to use Zhen Youcai's identity for the time being. What he needed to do now was to make the best use of his time to build his own team. He would slowly cultivate all the things he needed. Although he didn't have a team to speak of at the moment, Chu Yang knew how big his investment was. In other words, he had already spent a lot of his capital. Even if he didn't lack money, it didn't mean that he didn't lack other things. He believed that no matter how powerful a person's background was, they would have to think twice before investing so much. For the past 7 to 8 days, he had consumed a complete heavy pill and a big cup of Spring of Life. As for other elixirs and treasures, he had thrown in an uncountable amount. In the dozens of pots of soup, he had already used up too much good stuff. Every bowl of those soups could be described as priceless. If the truth was known by outsiders, any bowl of soup could be sold for a fortune. Chu Yang quietly and secretly did these things without anyone knowing. He wanted to raise the aptitude of each of these children to the maximum. It was best to make a fortune quietly. If others knew that he could raise a person's aptitude, Chu Yang felt that he would be drowned in an instant. He would be eaten until not even a bone was left. Chu Yang's secrecy was flawless, to the extent that Yen Russian, who had always been calm and composed, was now faced with a series of shocking situations. When he used his divine senses to scan them in the morning, he realized that the aptitude of these children had improved compared to yesterday. When he scanned them again at night, he realized that it had improved again. Although the increase in strength each time wasn't large, it was indeed an improvement. Yen Russian wondered again and again if his spiritual altar had been damaged because of this serious injury. If his spiritual sense didn't recover, how could there be such a huge mistake? These children's aptitudes were all trash at first. Then they weren't trash at all. Then they were all ordinary. Then they could all be cultivated. Some of them even had the qualities of geniuses. Wasn't this too ridiculous? The most ridiculous thing was that these children recovered with the nourishment. And after these few days of training, it seemed that the impurities in their bodies were decreasing bit by bit. But as long as it didn't involve these children, his spiritual sense would feel normal again. What was going on? Yen Russian was extremely conflicted. Yen Russian was 100% sure. If some large sects were recruiting disciples, any one of these 5,000 children would be close to the minimum requirement to be accepted into the sect. He was only one step away. In fact, more than half of the children had already exceeded the bottom line. This was simply inconceivable. Just 10 days ago, they were clearly a bunch of trash. No one was willing to look him in the eye. Yen Russian groaned in his heart. Why did things turn out this way? Why did this happen? What the hell is going on? Chu Yang could totally understand Yen Russian's frustration and confusion. Therefore, he could only secretly rejoice, even though the consumption was heart-wrenching. At least the pain went hand in hand with happiness. These days, in addition to carefully building up his team, Chu Yang was also paying attention to another matter, the movements of Purple Cloud City. He could vaguely feel that this small border city had been quiet for a long time. A storm was coming. The reason why he felt this way was because Fourth Master Hua hadn't been here for several days. This fact made Chu Yang somewhat enlightened. Since Fourth Master Hua hadn't been here for a long time, then there should be some progress in his request, right? Since there was progress, then what exactly was it? What exactly was it? Chu Yang was thinking that the city lord would come to him for treatment one day. At that time, for 7 to 8 days. Chu Yang had been recruiting soldiers and buying horses. So far, he had only recruited less than 20 Xian-grade martial artists. It was impossible not to lower the standards. Earth-grade experts were not people that Chu Yang and the Chu clan could recruit. Even these Xian-grade experts were only willing to come to the Chu clan because Chu Yang was decisive and generous enough. If these people were in the Heaven continent, they could be considered as martial artists. But in the Heaven Imperial Court, they were just dregs. They were only enough to make up the scene. Chu Yang could faintly feel that the Jin and Wu clans were somewhat against his recruitment. Even though they didn't directly resist or interfere with Chu Yang, they secretly helped to prevent Chu Yang from recruiting martial artists. Their influence was undoubtedly huge in Purple Cloud City. These two clans had been operating in Purple Cloud City for many years. They could be said to be real local tyrants. Chu Yang couldn't recruit anyone in Purple Cloud City. However, Chu Yang was dismissive of this result. Do you really think that I'm going to recruit martial artists in Purple Cloud City? How many martial artists are there here? How many truly powerful martial artists are there? What a joke! Even if you give your strongest martial artists to me, I don't want them. I really don't want them. How can other clans use them so well? It seemed that he couldn't even be completely at ease. Right now, he still had to cultivate his own martial artists. Unknowingly, half a month had passed in the blink of an eye. In this half a month, Chu Yang didn't go out. He didn't see any patients or auction any treasured swords. As a result, the entire Chu clan's courtyard was in a state of sitting idle and eating away at their savings. Not only did Chu Yang not make any money, but he also spent a lot of money. He flattened the men's hall and the nearby real estate he bought, and used the fastest speed to build an auction house. The construction speed was quite fast. Now it was close to the top. Chu Yang had requested for the construction of the auction house to be perfect. He had also requested for it to be completed at the fastest speed and with the highest quality. Therefore, a large amount of money had been spent by Chu Yang as if it was flowing water. Money was really not something that could resist spending. Previously, Chu Yang had made a lot of money from auctions, seeing patients, gambling, and the windfall from the Li clan. Chu Yang already felt that he could be regarded as a rich man. However, in just a few days, the money from the Li clan was almost gone. It was almost gone. Chu Yang would have to rely on the money he had earned from gambling and auctions to maintain his finances if he spent all of this money. But his previous income was just a drop in the bucket at the current rate of spending money. He wouldn't be able to sustain it for long. You really don't know the cost of money until you're in charge. Now, not only did he have to be responsible for the food, shelter, and transportation of those 5,000 little fellows, he also had to pay the wages of those fellows who had already entered working mode. Just the amount of food and drink alone was a huge amount. But a certain king of hell was still leisurely every day, without a trace of worry. He cultivated, spun one round, then cultivated again, and spun another round. At night, he hugged Tai Butian tenderly. He also ignored Tai Butian's resistance. Sometimes he would use soft words to ask for help, and sometimes he would directly force himself on her. Fishy was very puzzled by Chu Yang's behavior. How could this guy be so calm? The deadline for the bet was almost a month away. Not only did he not make any money, but he also made a lot of money. Instead, he spent large amounts of money. Back then, he only gambled for half a year. Was this guy going to give up just like that? If he really won just like that, something fishy would make him feel extremely apologetic. Chu Yang was already so miserable now. trash constitution, pressure to survive, and he still had to take care of such a big family. He even had to collect such a valuable bet. Wasn't it a little immoral? Wasn't it a little lacking in humanity? It was still uncertain whether Chu Yang would break down, but Fishy Cat himself was very likely to be traumatized because of this matter, and he would never be able to sleep in peace again. Teacher Cat was feeling very uncomfortable right now. He kept muttering in his heart, "If I really win in the future, what should I do? Heaven and earth are my witnesses. I can't go back on my word. I have to accept it." But what about Chu Yang? If it really didn't work out, should he accept the bet first and then give him money? That could at least make up for it, but the problem was, where would the Cat clan get so much money? If he gave too little, he might as well not give at all. The Cat clan couldn't afford it. Should he give up on the bet? Accept the bet and then return it to Chu Yang? This was a solution, but giving up on the bet was equivalent to giving up on the Cat clan's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to soar. How could he give it up for an outsider? Betraying his own clan. But if he accepted the bet, he would be betraying his good brother, his savior. This wasn't something that a person should do. In this way, a certain cat would be trapped in this endless cycle every day. 3, 5, or even 7 times were considered rare. Therefore, something strange happened. Both parties made a bet, but Chu Yang, who was about to lose, lived a carefree life every day. On the other hand, Teacher Cat, who was about to win, was full of anxiety and couldn't sleep at night. There were also frequent instances of blackouts. Finally, on the 20th day, bang! A table was smashed into pieces. Yen Russian stood in front of the table, his face full of disbelief. The first thing he couldn't believe was that he had actually recovered so quickly. He had originally estimated that the entire treatment would take at least a few months. Now, it had only been less than a month, and he had already recovered more than half of his strength. At this rate, it would take at most 2 days for him to fully recover to a state of near-perfect condition. This showed that divine Dr. Chu Yang's medical skills had reached a level that ordinary people could only look up to. The second thing that Yen Russian couldn't believe was, in the courtyard of the Chu clan, without any warning, there were rows and rows of geniuses popping up one after another, like bamboo shoots after the rain. This place had already become a camp for geniuses. Yen Russian watched helplessly as each and every piece of trash transformed before his eyes. They were like a black cocoon that no one would take a second look at. Day by day, they split open in front of his eyes and eventually turned into beautiful butterflies. I'll continue writing. I should be able to write the 3rd chapter. But I'm afraid I won't be able to write the 4th chapter. I've been so busy these few days. Chapter 1802. 20 days ago, these kids were still trash. There were more than 5,000 of them, but none of them were considered to be above average. The best one among them only had a cultivation aptitude of lower grade. Baidu search P.C. Yen Russian remembered this point very clearly. But more than 10 days ago, this group of children had changed. If they were to enter a sect, they would have at least 40% of their aptitudes. They belonged to the category where it would be a pity to give up on them, but they would not have a bright future. Although this was still nothing much, but from a trash aptitude to this level in 10 days, it was definitely a rebirth. At that time, Yen Russian was greatly shocked. He kept suspecting that there was something wrong with his divine soul and his eyes. But after 10 days, the aptitudes of these children had all reached a level where they could be ranked among the top in any large sect. Moreover, this was only the level of those with the lowest aptitude. Most of the others had already reached the upper level, and there were even a few super geniuses who were definitely the best of the best. Once they entered a sect, they would immediately be recognized as potential candidates. Such a talent, no matter where he went, as long as he appeared, he would immediately be fought over. However, there was actually a group of several thousand people gathered together here. Yen Russian finally couldn't contain his astonishment. What kind of magic was there in this place? Could it cause such an outcome? The reasons that Chu Yang had given earlier were no longer valid. If there were only 1 or 2 of them, Yen Russian could still reluctantly accept that he had made a mistake. But there were thousands of kids with abnormal aptitudes in front of him. All of them? How much of a fool would I, Yen Russian, be? Go and fool yourself. Such quantity, such quality, it was simply unbelievable. No, this fact had already exceeded the scope of inconceivable. This was simply a miracle, or perhaps a miracle, an immortal legend, a legend that had been passed down through the ages. In fact, some of the big sects in the Heaven Imperial Court had the ability to create such a miracle. A peerless martial artist would compress the spiritual energy in a radius of thousands of miles. Then, the spiritual energy would be purified and injected into a specific environment. Then, the geniuses in the sect would be allowed to cultivate there. This would be 100 times faster than normal, and the successor of the sect would be groomed. But this could only be done on a limited number of people at a time. And this method did not have any effect on improving one's aptitude. Just like Chu Yang's side, where thousands of people were raising their aptitudes together. This was simply unheard of. If Yen Russian hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he would have thought that the person who told him about it must be crazy or daydreaming. However, the person involved was himself. Could it be that he had also gone crazy and was daydreaming? Right now. The thing that Yen Russian couldn't believe the most was the changes that had happened to him. Over the past few days, Yen Russian was surprised to discover something. Not only the children, but even his own aptitude had improved a little. This was too, his aptitude had changed. It had changed for the better. Yen Russian was appalled. It wasn't that he couldn't believe it, but it was a fact. What was there to doubt? However, her brother's body hadn't changed at all for more than 100,000 years. He was born like this, but he had stayed here for more than half a month. It actually increased my aptitude. With my cultivation, with my age, it can actually increase and change? Yen Russian was so shocked by this shocking turn of events that he lost his ability to speak. The next moment, Yen Russian made up his mind and locked onto Chu Yang's position with his divine senses. Then he waved his hand and pulled Chu Yang over. Chu Yang, who was taking a stroll, suddenly appeared in front of Yen Russian. "What are you doing?" Chu Yang was furious. He was clearly in a good mood just a moment ago, but suddenly he couldn't move his body. Then he was caught with a whoosh. No one would be happy about such a thing. Fortunately, this wasn't the worst situation. If he was doing it with His Majesty, it wouldn't be described as bad. Tell me what exactly is going on. I want to hear the truth. Yen Russian's eyes were burning. Tell you what's going on? Chu Yang asked innocently. Don't play dumb with me. You know what I want to ask. Yen Russian was furious. So many people became geniuses at the same time. I won't believe it if you say it wasn't because of you. Tell me the truth. How am I playing dumb? I'm also depressed now. Chu Yang said as if he had been wronged. Why did their aptitude increase, but mine didn't? Why is that? Is it because the heavens don't like me? Looking at Chu Yang's attitude, it was as if he had no one to complain about his grievances. He had to keep his troubles to himself. It was as if it was really the case. What's there to increase with your trashy physique? Mention that. Yen Russian said angrily. Suddenly he was stunned. He looked at Chu Yang and stood motionless as if he had been petrified. What's wrong with you? Chu Yang grinned. He was usually so calm. Why was he so agitated now? What's wrong with him? What's wrong with you? Did you see a ghost? How is this possible? It's impossible. It's impossible. Yen Russian exclaimed as if he had seen a ghost. What's wrong with me? This is impossible. That's impossible. I think you've really seen a ghost. Why are you so agitated? Did you take the wrong medicine? Chu Yang was baffled. Stop pretending. Yen Russian flew into a rage. Tell me, why are you so close to the earth rank now? He stared. With your aptitude, you shouldn't be able to reach the earth level even if you train for another 100 or 1,000 years. How did you improve so quickly in just a few days? What's going on? I'm reaching the earth level? Are you for real? Chu Yang asked suspiciously. Is it really so fast? Seems like the heavens haven't given up on me. I knew it. I'm such a handsome and elegant man. How can there be no room for improvement? Facts have proven that I'm a legend. I'm a legend. Yen Russian looked at Chu Yang, who was spouting nonsense. He couldn't help but feel angry. This bastard's acting was really good. His acting was so perfect that it was flawless, as if he was completely innocent. He went forward and grabbed Chu Yang's wrist. Then he flew into a rage. How can this be fake? What kind of demonic means did you use? How did you improve so much? How is this possible? How would I know something that even a great master like you doesn't know? Chu Yang said innocently, I was so shocked by you and Big Boss Cat that I didn't practice much these days. How did I advance to the earth level? You ask me, who should I ask? Didn't train? Yen Russian almost fainted when he heard this. You bastard. You didn't train and yet you improved so quickly. If you took the time to train, what would happen to you? Would you become a saint in one step? But what was with this Dantian? It was obviously a trashy aptitude. Why did it improve so quickly? Could it be that all the rules were reversed? Yen Russian was speechless. He was completely lost. For so many years, Yen Russian had never felt so lost. Chu Yang looked innocent. Do you think this is a good place? Maybe this is the best feng shui location in the Heaven Imperial Court? God gave me a trashy aptitude, and in order to compensate me, he gave me this piece of good feng shui land. This is possible, right? Get lost. Yen Russian was furious. To hell with the feng shui location. Although he couldn't figure out the reason, it definitely had nothing to do with the feng shui treasured land. This location was as trashy as Chu Yang's aptitude. Are you going to tell me or not? Don't force me to be rough. Yen Russian grabbed Chu Yang's neck and shook him. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and stuck out his tongue. He waved his hands and was finally released. He coughed violently and continued to play dumb. Yes, what's going on? Why is this happening? This is too strange. Oh yes, you're already treating me like this. Is this not considered rough? Then what is considered rough? Is there something wrong with my understanding? Yen Russian glared at him. He felt weak all over. Trying to get something out of this guy's mouth was harder than ascending to the heavens. Moreover, he couldn't really use his hands to cut him. That was his savior. He was really a piece of troublesome meat. He couldn't be slapped, beaten, cut, or pushed away. He was a pain in the ass. Forget it, I won't ask you anymore. Yen Russian waved his hand and said, This is your personal secret. What do you intend to do with these kids? These kids were enough to form a super sect with their current numbers. If all of them were to develop, Yen Russian felt terrified just thinking about it. What do you mean? Chu Yang asked curiously. All of them have such good aptitudes. You have to teach them something, right? Are you going to leave them there? Yen Russian guided him patiently. If such good aptitudes were to be wasted, Yen Russian would feel that Chu Yang had committed a heinous crime. Even if he was his savior, he couldn't kill him. He had to beat him up first. Why? Chu Yang's words drove Yen Russian crazy. I feed them, clothe them, and even give them a place to stay. Why should I teach them something? All the benefits belong to them. If this goes on, they will farm and do some work in the future. When they earn money, they will repay me. That's the right thing to do. What's the point of learning those useless things? What's better than living a peaceful life? Chu Yang's feigned ignorance made Yen Russian gnash his teeth. Chapter 1803. Looking at Chu Yang's nonchalant face, Yen Russian wanted to swallow Chu Yang whole. He was so angry that his hair stood on end. After a long time, he took a deep breath and said, Hello. You're very good. You're very good. You're very good. He turned around and strode away. He was really afraid that if he stayed any longer, he would not be able to control himself and crush Chu Yang to death. Old Zongheng had never seen such an infuriating bastard in his life. So many good materials were wasted just like that? Let them go out to work? Go out to farm? Was there any justice in this world? Yen Russian could tell that Chu Yang had no intention of grooming these people himself. This time, Chu Yang's attitude was very clear. Moreover, Chu Yang could not afford to train so many people. But, so many geniuses were really left to farm? Wasting resources recklessly could not be described as wasteful. Just the thought of it made Yen Russian want to vomit blood. If the big sects were to find out about this, Yen Russian could imagine how Chu Yang would be captured and skinned alive. Then he would be turned into a sky lantern before being fried in a frying pan. Yen Russian left in a huff. The only consolation was that Wang Dao's aptitude had improved. He had said that he would train him personally. After a few days of recovery, he would start to train him. Chu Yang could not possibly leave him to farm anymore, right? Another day had passed. When Chu Yang was anxiously waiting, the city lord finally arrived. Brother Chu Yang, the eyes of the attendant almost fell out of their sockets. He dared to swear to the heavens that ever since the city lord came to Xixia City, he had never been so intimate with anyone. What was going on? Yoha, big brother. Chu Yang's face was full of enthusiasm. Both of them laughed as they approached each other, as if they were brothers who had been separated for many years. That kind of intimacy did not need to be mentioned. Inviting the city lord into a secret chamber, Chu Yang brewed the medicine personally. It was another torturous experience. The city lord was tortured to the point of wanting to die a few times. He was sweating profusely. His face was so distorted that it was turning purple. After the treatment was completed, as he drank his tea, the city lord rubbed his hands awkwardly. Brother Chu, look at my memory. I actually forgot about your consultation fee last time. As he spoke, his hand reached into his bosom. This saying was indeed true. The lord of the city had indeed forgotten about it. Moreover, he was so excited that he had forgotten about it. At that time, he was only thinking about what to do. How could he have thought about the consultation fee? What are you talking about? Chu Yang angrily glared at him. Big brother, are you looking down on me? The city lord was stunned and wiped his sweat. Brother, what are you saying? Why do I have to pay for treating your illness? Chu Yang said angrily. What kind of person do you think I am? He waved his hand and said, Don't mention this again. The city lord was touched. This doesn't make sense. If Big Brother insists on paying, then just pay for these 2 visits. Don't come to me for any injuries in the future. How can a noble person set foot in this lowly place of mine? Chu Yang said resolutely. He sat down angrily and turned his head away. His face was full of, You are treating me like an outsider. I am very hurt. Don't. Brother, don't be angry. It's just a casual remark. The city lord quietly put the purple cloud coins back into his pocket and smiled. It's my fault. We're brothers, and talking about money will hurt our relationship. That's right. Chu Yang said righteously. That's how it should be. Don't separate yourself from me. Talking about money will hurt our relationship. Yes. But I also have a request. The city lord said seriously, Brother, don't separate yourself from me in the future. Otherwise, I will really be angry. The city lord was very emotional. This sentence was said with great sincerity. Of course. Let's not talk about money. Let's talk about love. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and said, It's a pity that 4th brother Hua didn't come. If he was, it would be even better. Brother, I have to warn you about something. The city lord was full of brotherly love at this moment. He lowered his voice and said, Brother, you must know that 4th brother Hua is really not someone you can provoke. No matter if he is an enemy or a friend, he is not someone you can get involved with right now. You must be careful and safe. As long as I am in Purple Cloud City, you will not be wronged. Just remember this sentence. What do you mean? Chu Yang said righteously, If it wasn't for 4th brother Hua who helped me and recommended you, how could I have a foothold in Purple Cloud City now? 4th brother Hua has done me a great favor. As long as it's something he needs, I will help him no matter what. Even if I can't help him, I will help him with money and effort. You stubborn person. The city lord was anxious and angry. This stubborn person valued 4th brother Hua so much. Fourth brother Hua's clan was about to excavate the dragon vein. At that time, who knew what kind of movement it would cause? If the enemy of the Hua clan knew about this, it would definitely lead to a series of life and death battles. If Chu Yang is involved in this matter, with his cowardly behavior, if he dies because of Hua Si before he can completely cure me, what should I do then? Brother, you don't know ah? The city lord was anxious and lowered his voice. I'll tell you the truth. Fourth brother Hua was willing to rope you in because he wanted to use you to do me a favor. He had bad intentions. If not for you curing my illness, I don't know what would happen to me now. That can't be right. How could it be like this? I think fourth brother Hua is a generous and straightforward person. How could he be such a person? Chu Yang's face was full of suspicion. Brother Chu is a kind person and you are new to the martial world. How would you know how sinister people can be? Fourth brother Hua and the Hua clan are planning something big this time. They plan to transplant a dragon vein from there. This is a huge matter that involves the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Brother, after this matter, the Hua clan will survive this crisis. With your medical skills, they will definitely not want to offend you easily. But in this period of time, you must listen to me. Try to act as little as possible. Otherwise, you will die for nothing. He said earnestly, with the strength and status of the Jianghu family, the enemies they have provoked? Not to mention you, brother, even if all of my city guards were added together, it would still be of no use. It's that serious? Chu Yang's expression was a little stunned. It's really that dangerous? Seeing that Chu Yang seemed to have the intention to retreat, the city lord relaxed. The Hua clan has put in a lot of effort this time. Up until now, they have sent many experts. There are as many as 7 Empyrean experts. It is said that there is even a saint expert. Brother, think about it yourself. Such a matter, with such experts involved, what's the point of you taking action? I see. Chu Yang's face was full of gratitude. Thank you for pointing it out. I, your little brother, will not participate in it. Actually, with my strength, if I really participate, won't I be killed with one slap? Brother, it's right to think this way. Nothing is more important than your own life. The city lord relaxed and laughed. After sending off the satisfied city lord, Chu Yang's eyes flashed. He muttered, "Boundless mountain." Late at night, a figure streaked across the sky like a meteor. He seemed to have landed in an abandoned house. Immediately, a huge figure appeared, carrying the figure just now. With a swoosh, it had already disappeared. Even if no one found out, Chu Yang still had to make a turn, just in case. Even if he was found out and caught red-handed, he could still deny it. Boundless mountain. Boundless mountain, boundless mountain. There was no sign of human habitation for thousands of miles. This was the boundless mountain. 2,300 miles away from Purple Cloud City was a continuous mountain range. The entire boundless mountain was located on this piece of empty land. There was no sign of human habitation for thousands of miles. Since ancient times, as long as someone settled down within 1,000 miles, their entire family would become dried corpses in less than a month. This was a miraculous yet cruel phenomenon, filled with a strange atmosphere. Because of this, the boundless mountain was called the Cursed Land. The night wind was biting cold. Brother Tiger, whose body had become huge, silently landed on the peak of the boundless mountain. Chu Yang, dressed in black, jumped down from Brother Tiger's back. Brother Tiger, carrying Chu Yang, used less than a breath's worth of time to cover this distance. Even with Chu Yang's current cultivation level, he was almost killed by the high-altitude hurricane. The speed was really too fast. So fast that there wasn't enough time to create a sonic boom. Boundless mountain. Chu Yang sized up this area, his eyes revealing a pondering look. The surrounding night was dark, the chirping of insects and cicadas, completely silent. The treetops in the jungle on the mountain swayed gently in the breeze, and the grass on the ground swayed slightly. Everything was normal, and it was no different from an ordinary mountain. Be more careful. There are people guarding all around the foot of the mountain. Brother Tiger said telepathically. I know. Chu Yang nodded slightly. Since the Hua clan wanted to make a move here, it would be strange if no one was guarding it. Brother Tiger, can you sense anything unusual here? Chu Yang frowned and asked. As he spoke, the sword spirit had already silently escaped from the tribulation space. He also used his mental senses to investigate. The strength of the sword spirit, as Chu Yang's strength grew, gradually unlocked the seal on his own strength. Now, he had already reached the early stage of the heaven stage, and was a genuine heaven stage expert. His strength was not below that of Teacher Cat. Therefore, the amount of mental energy he could use now was also abnormally huge, far greater than before. However, after the sword spirit, Chu Yang and Brother Tiger searched carefully, they did not discover anything. This was just an ordinary mountain, nothing more. It did not even have the eerie and creepy feeling that the so-called cursed land should have. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.